Hi everyone, please subscribe to my channel. Blood Immortal Venerable. See playlist for other chapters and novels. Join now our Telegram channel now and enjoy exclusive early access. t.me/blood_immortal_official. I do not translate the novels. Credits goes to original translator and author of the novel. I only make it as an audiobook so it would be easier to just listen while doing other things. Credits goes to the author of the novel. I convert stories to audiobook for mental health, for multitasking purpose, for accessibility and time saving. Listening to audiobook is also beneficial for people who have disability. It improves our listening skills and improve our English comprehension, vocabulary and other things. So, thank you for listening. Thank you and thank you very much for your support. Chapter 61, Preparing to Leave. After a lengthy conversation with Yu Zhang, Yi Tian had finally garnered some understanding about the Demon Sea base. However, what Yu Zhang shared were merely common knowledge, he didn't touch upon any covert information. Before departing, Yi Tian suddenly asked, "Pavilion Master Yu, do you happen to know Yu Ling?" Given that the both of them were surnamed Yu and both were affiliated with the Martial Pavilion, Yi Tian wondered if there might be some relation between them. His query was sparked by curiosity. "Yu Ling and I both belong to the Yu clan, one of the three great families that control the Martial Pavilion," Yu Zhang explained. "I'm from a branch family, whereas Yu Ling is a young mistress of the main family. Her background is much more profound than mine, and her status far surpasses my own." As I thought, Yi Tian mused. His guess had been correct. Even Yu Zhang's status paled in comparison to Yu Ling's. It made sense that Yu Ling had a grand martial warrior as a servant. Although that servant wasn't particularly powerful, the fact that a grand martial warrior servant was allocated to serve an elite warrior like Yu Ling was quite astonishing. In the Linhai base, grand martial warriors held esteemed positions, none would stoop to serve an elite warrior. Only a major family like the Yu clan would undertake such an arrangement. "Pavilion Master Yu, I'll trouble you again in a month," Yi Tian bid farewell. Upon returning home, Yi Tian began contemplating his next moves. According to Yu Zhang, the gold cards and currency from the Linhai base could be exchanged at the Demon Sea Bank for the currency of the Demon Sea base. The exchange rate was 2-to-1, but this was not a loss, considering that items expensive in Linhai might be cheaper in the Demon Sea base. With only 1 month before leaving Linhai base, I should liquidate some assets, otherwise, they'd go to waste, Yi Tian thought. The first thing he needed to sort out was the stockpile of intermediate beast blood, initially reserved for Yi Yu's cultivation. With just 1 month left, Yi Yu wouldn't be able to use it all. Therefore, Yi Tian distributed 1,000 portions to the Wind Wolf hunting team for free, considering Wind Wolf was a decent person and a friend. The remaining beast blood was sold to the Martial Pavilion for a total of 1 billion currency units. While a billion may seem a lot, it was pocket change for a martial warrior of Yi Tian's caliber. In addition to the beast blood, Yi Tian sold off his collection of valuable medicinal herbs for 400 million units. He decided not to sell his villa, thinking it would serve as a place to stay if he ever returned. For the remaining month, Yi Tian focused solely on cultivation and managed to increase his strength to 230,000 caddies. Though the growth was swift, at this rate, he could hope to reach the limit of 1 million caddies of a grand martial warrior within 3 years and then advance to the Grand Master realm. To achieve Grand Master status in 3 years would make countless martial warriors envious, Yi Tian thought. Especially when many of them will never attain that level in their lifetimes. But this is just with my current top-tier cultivation talent. Who's to say that there aren't higher-level talents in the Demon Sea base? If I can copy those higher-level talents, the time required to achieve Grand Master status would be much shorter. The desire to copy higher-level cultivation talents was one of the reasons why Yi Tian was eager to go to the Demon Sea base. Staying in Linhai base wouldn't afford him the opportunity to copy such talents, as they were inherently human traits, unlike the bloodline talents of beasts, which were unsuitable for him. "Little sister, let's go," Yi Tian said to Yi Yu, who was busy packing her things. Yi Yu was collecting some of her trinkets, items with little monetary value but significant sentimental worth. If she could, she would have taken everything from their home, but she was limited in what she could bring. She filled 3 large bags, which she hung over the back of Xiao Jin. Soon after, Yi Tian and Yi Yu mounted Xiao Jin and left the central garden community, heading toward the northern gate of Linhai base. At that moment, Yu Zhang was already waiting for them there. When Yi Tian arrived at the northern gate, he not only saw Yu Zhang but also 7 or 8 warriors. Lin Wanli, Grandmaster Li, and several other great warriors, all high-profile figures in Linhai base, were there as well. They're probably also heading to the Demon Sea base, but their purpose must be different from mine, Yi Tian speculated. He was planning to settle down in the Demon Sea base, whereas Lin Wanli and the others were unlikely to abandon everything at Linhai base. They had little room for advancement and saw no benefit in going to the Demon Sea base. At least in Linhai base, they were big shots. If they went to the Demon Sea base, aside from Grandmaster Li, the others would have to tread carefully, which wouldn't be comfortable for them. Master Yi, Lin Wanli and the others greeted Yi Tian when they saw him. Master Yi, are you leaving Linhai base for good? Grandmaster Li glanced at the large bags on Xiao Jin and inquired curiously. Yes, I plan to settle in the Demon Sea base. Maybe I'll return if time permits, Yi Tian casually replied. Upon hearing this, Grandmaster Li's face lit up. With Yi Tian gone, no one could overpower him at Linhai base. He would become the only Grandmaster and the strongest person there. While Yi Tian was present, he had always felt stifled and dared not be arrogant. So, Yi Tian's departure excited him the most. However, in front of Yi Tian, he kept his exhilaration hidden deep within. After waiting for approximately an hour, Yi Tian finally saw a caravan approaching. The ground began to tremor as a series of gigantic beasts dragged a large amount of cargo toward them. The caravan is here, Yu Zhang announced loudly. Lin Wanli and the others were familiar with this caravan and showed no surprise. However, Yi Tian and Yi Yu stared curiously at the approaching convoy. So they used such enormous beasts as mounts for the caravan to carry the goods. Yi Tian realized at that moment just how formidable the martial pavilion was, incomparable to any ordinary power. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Chapter 62, The Demon Sea Base. Chapter 62, The Demon Sea Base. The caravan arrived at the northern gate, where Yu Zhang engaged in discussions about cargo transfer with a leading warrior of the caravan. These goods had been transported from the main base to Linhai base for sale, in exchange for various other resources. These were resources the main base lacked, such as specific medicinal herbs and materials from ferocious beasts, while the main base could offer many finished goods like healing medicines and elemental weapons. The exchange of goods benefited both bases, and the martial guild also profited significantly in the process. Yu Zhang set people to manage the goods, a process that would take an hour or two. Knowing they had time to kill, people like Grandmaster Li closed their eyes to rest, while Yi Tian curiously eyed the gigantic beasts that were a part of the caravan. All of these fierce beasts were of the same species, resembling elephants but several times larger and covered in thick scales. Since the beasts were not far from Yi Tian, he could easily assess their innate abilities. Type: Armored Brute Elephant. Bloodline Talent: Medium. Defensive Talent: Elementary. Strength Talent: Elementary. Good talents, Yi Tian exclaimed. These armored brute elephants even had two special talents. Although they were only elementary level talents, they should be considered good among beasts. The only regret was that their bloodline talent was just medium, ensuring they could never become particularly strong beasts. Even if they are of medium level, from their aura, they've reached their peak growth, achieving the level of high-tier fierce beasts. With defensive and strength talents, they should be of medium capability among high-tier fierce beasts, Yi Tian concluded. Their massive size and moderate strength made them ideal for cargo transport. About an hour and a half passed, and Yu Zhang's exchange of cargo with the caravan was almost complete. The caravan prepared to return to the Demon Sea base. freewebnovel.com. If you follow the caravan, it will cost 10 million per person, including a free entry permit, said a leading warrior from the caravan as he approached Yi Tian and the others. Here, Lin Wanli handed over 10 gold cards to the warrior. Although Grandmaster Li was a Grandmaster, he couldn't break the rules. The caravan also had a Grandmaster who stayed in a cart pulled by an armored brute elephant and hadn't come down. So Grandmaster Li dared not refuse to pay. You need to pay 30 million, as you also have to pay for your beast, the caravan warrior pointed at Xiao Jin. 30 million was a trivial amount for Yi Tian. He paid without any discussion. Soon, the caravan departed. Grandmaster Li and the others weren't eligible to ride the armored brute elephants, they had to run alongside. Yi Tian and Yi Yu, however, were more comfortable, riding on Xiao Jin's back without any jostling, utterly at ease. The armored brute elephants didn't run at high speeds but moved at 100 meters per second. It was slow, but there was no other option. This was the wilderness, and there were countless fierce beasts between Linhai base and the Demon Sea base. Moreover, the route was not fully cleared. If they ran too fast, not only could the cargo be overturned, but they also risked running into other beasts, creating a big problem. Given the speed of the armored brute elephants, it would take about 8 or 9 hours to cover the 3,000-kilometer distance, a time frame that wasn't too long. Traveling at the speed of the mighty armored elephants, the caravan covered a distance of 3,000 kilometers in approximately 8 to 9 hours. The time wasn't particularly long. Along the way, Yi Tian encountered numerous ferocious beasts. However, most of them ran off as soon as they sensed the aura of the armored elephants. After all, a herd of high-level beasts exuded a strong deterrent force. Ordinary beasts dared not approach the caravan. The caravan was not afraid of high-level beasts, their concern was the appearance of top-tier beasts. However, the probability of encountering top-tier beasts was not high. The route the caravan took was relatively safe, steering clear of the territories of top-tier beasts. So, unless they were particularly unlucky, mishaps were generally unlikely. 9 hours passed. Yi Tian sat atop Xiao Jin, his eyes scanning the distance. With his keen vision, he soon saw an enormously large city in the distance. The city was many times larger than Linhai Base, yet it lacked walls for protection. Instead, a faint shimmering screen covered the entire city. Demon Sea Base, Yi Tian muttered to himself. Compared to the Grand Demon Sea Base, Linhai Base was undoubtedly a backward place. The difference between the two was like that between a modern city and an ancient one. What piqued Yi Tian's curiosity was the immense light screen that covered the entire Demon Sea Base. Rumor had it that this was a formation, but he wondered how it had been constructed. A minute later, the caravan's lead warrior announced, "We've arrived. Take your entry permits and go." The leader handed a paper permit to Yi Tian and sent him on his way. Demon Sea Base had multiple entrances, none of which were covered by the light screen. One could enter, but an entry permit or a Yuan Power identity card was required. Unauthorized entry, even by a Grand Master, was punishable by death. Holding 3 permits, Yi Tian passed through the entrance and entered Demon Sea Base, subsequently parting ways with Old Man Li and the others. They clearly had their own business to attend to. And since their paths might not cross again, there was no reason to stick together. The streets of Demon Sea Base were quite broad, wide enough even for Xiao Jin to walk without seeming too large. This was intentional, designed with the consideration of pets who were beasts. After asking around, Yi Tian finally located the place where he could register for residency in Demon Sea Base, the Bureau of Demon Sea Base Residents. Standing in front of the skyscraper that housed the bureau, Yi Tian felt a sudden rush of nostalgia. In fact, he'd felt it ever since he'd arrived at Demon Sea Base. After all, the base resembled a modern city from his past life, except that Yuan Power was the energy source here, permeating the air, far denser than at Linhai Base. Training in such an environment would undoubtedly be much faster. Just as Yi Tian was about to enter the Bureau of Demon Sea Base Residents, a warrior dressed as a security guard stopped him. "My friend, your beast can't enter." Yi Tian looked at the warrior, then at the entrance of the bureau, and finally at Xiao Jin's size. Reluctantly, he had no choice but to leave Xiao Jin outside to avoid any destruction. "Xiao Jin, wait for me outside. I'll be back soon," Yi Tian instructed. "Master, come out quickly." Xiao Jin was somewhat fearful and anxious. The area was crowded with humans, many of whom were powerful. It even sensed the presence of humans much stronger than itself, right inside the bureau. As a beast, staying here felt too stressful. If Yi Tian were there, it wouldn't be afraid. But with Yi Tian gone, it began to worry about its safety. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Chapter 63, The Power of the Elephant. Upon entering the Demon Sea Base Administration Office, Yi Tian discovered that there were not many people there. However, upon reflection, this made sense. This was a place for identity verification and virtually everyone at the Demon Sea Base already had identification. Only those whose Yuan 1 identity cards had been damaged would come here for replacements. Thus, few people came to handle business here. Yi Tian arrived at a window, reported his background, and filled out an extensive amount of paperwork. The last step to officially becoming a resident of the Demon Sea Base was to go to the 10th floor to make a payment. The fee was steep, 50 million units per person. To the average individual in the Demon Sea Base, this amount was astronomical, but for newcomers who wanted to become a part of the base, this was the hefty price to pay. Otherwise, wouldn't warriors from smaller bases all flood into the Demon Sea Base? Lacking the currency of the Demon Sea Base, Yi Tian made a trip to the neighboring Demon Sea Bank and exchanged 100 million units. After paying the fee, he successfully processed 2 yuan identity cards. As for Xiao Jin, his pet beast, it didn't need an identity card, registering at the beast management office was sufficient. Afterwards, Yi Tian also applied for 2 bank cards at the Demon Sea Bank. These were similar to the bank cards from his previous life, but the cards from the Demon Sea Bank were special, engraved with simple magic patterns that could store information. To apply for a bank card, one needed to possess an yuan identity card. Having completed the identity verification process for himself and Yi Tian was now eligible to apply for bank cards. With the identity cards sorted and the bank cards in hand, Yi Tian next visited the beast management office to register Xiao Jin. One could say that Yi Tian had taken care of the most basic matters since arriving at the Demon Sea base. The next item on his agenda was to purchase property. With abundant funds converted into the currency of the Demon Sea base, amounting to a staggering 800 million, Yi Tian had more than enough to buy a villa. This was capital he had accumulated over 2 years. Although he couldn't afford a villa in the core area of the Demon Sea base, he didn't aspire to such extravagance. After some selection, Yi Tian purchased a small villa in a community near the core area for about 300 million. One of the villa's greatest advantages was its soundproofing magic array, which could block outside noise. It also had a cultivation room with more concentrated yuan force compared to the outside world, speeding up cultivation by about 30%. Brother, is this our new home? Yi Yu exclaimed excitedly upon arriving at the villa. Although the villa was smaller than their old one, to her, who had never seen a modern villa, it was 100 times better, and she was curious about many things. Yi Tian, although visiting the Demon Sea base for the first time and seeing a modern villa of this era, was not as curious as Yi Yu. The villas of this time were not much different from those of his previous life. Actually, most of what the people of the Demon Sea base had developed were mere imitations of items from over 100 years ago, so Yi Tian was not unfamiliar with them. Over the next few days, Yi Tian went on a shopping spree to decorate their new home, ensuring it wouldn't feel too empty. At the same time, he also began to familiarize himself with all aspects of the Demon Sea base. In the cultivation room, Yi Tian looked at a recently purchased massive pillar, a power testing pillar. He had seen such things before in Linhai base, but the equipment there was undoubtedly rudimentary. The pillar in front of him was more advanced, capable of accurately testing even a Grandmaster level attack. What intrigued Yi Tian was that the Demon Sea base didn't use the term Jin for attack power beyond the Grandmaster level, instead, they used elephant. 2-1, elephant, of power was equivalent to 1 million Jin of force. This was not an ordinary elephant but an ancient colossal pachyderm, a high-level fierce beast. Its body had a power level of 1 million Jin, and almost all ancient pachyderms possessed this level of strength. This elephant was no ordinary beast, but rather a primeval mammoth, a type of high-level fierce animal. Its physical strength measured a staggering 1,000,000 pounds. Almost all ancient mammoths possessed this level of power. Hence, people adopted the elephant as a unit of force. After all, as one's cultivation level increased, if one continued to use pounds as a unit, the numbers could escalate into the tens or even hundreds of millions of pounds, which would sound bizarre. The elephant unit was generally accepted by grandmasters and was considered much more refined than the pound unit. Boom! Yi Tian's fist struck the force measuring pillar. The display read 232,356, indicating that Yi Tian's strength amounted to 232,356 pounds, a highly accurate measurement. This was Yi Tian's pure physical strength. Immediately afterward, Yi Tian activated his strength talent and added the amplification from his yuan force. Another boom resonated as the force measuring pillar shook. A new number appeared, 4.6, accompanied by a small elephant icon. This did not signify 4.6 pounds but rather represented 4.6 feet elephants, a force equivalent to 4.6 million pounds. Next, Yi Tian wielded an intermediate-level yuan-powered knife and struck the pillar with all his might. A figure, 27.6, appeared on the pillar, representing 27.6 elephants of force, or 27.6 million pounds. Such a level of attacking power was considered quite good even among grandmasters. The weakest of grandmasters could only exert just over 2 elephants of attacking power. Of course, such grandmasters were the weakest among their ranks. In the Demon Sea base, they occupied only mid-tier positions and were far from the upper echelons. According to the data from the Demon Sea base, the limit of a grandmaster's physical strength is 50 million pounds, or 50 elephants. With yuan power amplification, they can exert up to 100 elephants of force. Even a peak grandmaster with no special talents could kill me instantly. I'm still weak within the Demon Sea base, Yi Tian thought to himself. What Yi Tian appreciated about the Demon Sea base was its strict legal system. Just like in his previous life, the base had stringent laws against illegal activities. Even people from big families couldn't bully ordinary individuals. In contrast, in other bases where it seemed that killing was prohibited, if someone from a big family actually killed someone, no one would intervene. But it was different in the Demon Sea base. Even if a grandmaster intentionally killed an ordinary person, they could be imprisoned for hundreds of years or even sentenced to death in severe cases. Such a conducive environment contributed to the prosperity of the Demon Sea base. Of course, once outside the base, skirmishes still occurred frequently. Such incidents were inevitable and could not be prevented. Next, I have 2 tasks. First, to enroll my sister in school. The Demon Sea base has schools for martial warriors, where she could get a better education. The second task is to find cultivation talents above top level and copy them to transform my own cultivation talent, Yi Tian planned. Since the second task depended on luck, worrying about it was pointless. For now, he focused on the first. So, he called his sister Yi Yu over. Sis, shall I take you to school tomorrow? Sure, Yi Yu nodded. She knew her brother was busy. Usually, he was nowhere to be seen, always secluded in solitary cultivation. She was often bored, as her pet Xiao Jin couldn't talk to keep her company. Compared to that, she preferred going to school where she could at least make some friends. Great, I'll take you to school tomorrow then, Yi Tian said, patting Yi Yu's head with a smile. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. 1. Previously referred to as elemental power. I think Yuan force is the better translation. 2. Any suggestions on alternative terms for elephant? Chapter 64. Secret Realm and Invitation. The Demon Sea base had numerous schools, primarily divided into 2 levels, one for ordinary people and martial warriors, and the other exclusively for cultivators. Moreover, schools for cultivators also varied in quality, with the higher tier ones even offering guidance from grandmasters. However, once you reached the age of 25 or advanced to the level of a great martial warrior, you had to graduate. After all, beyond that level, your path depended on yourself. The guidance from such schools was no longer as impactful. Originally, Yi Tian thought that the cultivator schools only taught basic physical training methods and some theories. It was only after he explored these institutions further that he realized how narrow his understanding had been. There were a multitude of subjects one could learn, various sword techniques, fist arts, palm arts, and even esoteric skills like basic formation arrays and the art of forging elemental weapons. However, there was a precondition: you needed the corresponding talent. For example, only those with a talent in swordsmanship could enroll in swordsmanship courses. Without it, you couldn't even borrow books on the subject. These schools emphasized personalized instruction. Anyone with special talents was highly welcomed. Even if one lacked any unique talents, they could still learn basic things like elementary swordsmanship or knife techniques, which were freely accessible and required no special aptitude. If only I wasn't so unique and didn't have to hide my talents, I'd also like to enroll in a cultivator's school, Yi Tian lamented. Registering for a cultivator school was not complicated. With his ID card, cultivation level, and medium talent, Yi Yu easily gained admission. Although it wasn't the best cultivator school in the Demon Sea base, it was conveniently close to their villa. After spending a few days completing all the formalities, Yi Yu successfully enrolled. Yi Tian had initially planned to inquire about the prodigies of the Demon Sea base so he could find and copy their talents. However, the arrival of one individual disrupted his plans. Yu Ling. Yi Tian was surprised to see her standing outside his villa when he returned home. After a moment's thought, it all made sense. Yu Zhong knew he was coming to the Demon Sea base, and since Yu Ling and Yu Zhong were from the same family, perhaps Yu Zhong had informed her. Yi Tian, long time no see, Yu Ling greeted with a smile. Let's go inside and talk, Yi Tian suggested. Sure, Yu Ling followed Yi Tian into the villa and they sat down in the living room. Did Yu Zhong tell you that I was coming? Yi Tian asked directly. Indeed, Yu Zhong informed me. At first, I thought he might be lying, but seeing you now, I know he was telling the truth. You've reached the great martial warrior level in such a short time. According to Yu Zhong, you even killed a grandmaster. Is that true? Yu Ling looked intently at Yi Tian, awaiting his reply. It was just an ordinary grandmaster, Yi Tian quickly said, effectively admitting it. Even an ordinary grandmaster is still a grandmaster. For a great martial warrior to kill one, you'd need a special talent that enhances your attack. I'd like to invite you to join our martial chamber again. Would you? Yu Ling inquired. As I've said before, I'm not interested in joining any faction for now. Yi Tian shook his head. Yu Ling wasn't surprised or disappointed by Yi Tian's answer, she had merely asked in passing. Then, she revealed the real purpose of her visit. Yi Tian, have you ever heard of secret realms? Yu Ling queried. Secret realms? Yi Tian shook his head. Yi Tian shook his head again. He genuinely had no idea what a secret realm was. It seemed like something from a novel. In this era, he had never heard of it. Yu Ling, aware that Yi Tian hailed from a small base and was naturally ignorant about such realms, explained, a secret realm is a kind of subspace detached from Earth. It has mountains, rivers, trees, and even ferocious beasts. Each secret realm is unique, some abound with treasures, while others are barren. The appearance of these realms is connected to the disaster that occurred 100 years ago. The entrances are spatial rifts that open only under specific conditions. So that's what it is. Yi Tian understood. Yu Ling continued, not far from the large demon sea base, there is a mountain range that contains a secret realm. However, only warriors below the level of Grandmaster can enter. Those at the Grandmaster level or higher would be crushed to nothingness by the realm's power if they tried to force their way in. What are you telling me this for? Yi Tian asked. In reality, he was already forming some guesses in his mind. I want to invite you to enter the secret realm with me, Yu Ling declared. The realm is dangerous, and warriors won't necessarily cooperate once inside. Even members of the same family might kill each other over treasures, especially since news from the realm can't get out. However, I trust your character, and that's why I want to invite you. Anything you gain in there will belong to you. How many warriors will enter the secret realm? Yi Tian questioned further. Many, Yu Ling solemnly replied. This particular realm opens only once every 10 years and can accommodate 1,000 people. But the Demon Sea base alone has far more than 1,000 great martial warriors, so only major powers have quotas. Due to my status, I have one such quota. As many as 1,000 great martial warriors. Yi Tian inhaled sharply. Such a number was unimaginable at his Linhai base. He then understood Yu Ling's concerns. Although she was talented, she paled in comparison to the truly gifted, which was why she wanted to invite him, someone with the power to defeat an ordinary Grandmaster, into the secret realm. What's your current level? Yi Tian queried. He could sense that Yu Ling was at the great martial warrior level, but he couldn't determine which stage she was at. Late stage of great martial warrior, Yu Ling honestly revealed. That was fast. Yi Tian looked surprised. Yu Ling was merely a high-level cultivator. How could she have progressed so quickly, even with the support of her family? Could it be? Yi Tian considered a possibility. He had assessed Yu Ling's talents once before and didn't think to check this time. Now, he was having doubts. Human, Yu Ling, cultivation talent, top tier. Swordsmanship talent, medium. Speed talent, low. The talent that had been high level was now top tier. With such talent and the support of her family, it made perfect sense that Yu Ling had reached the late stage of great martial warrior so quickly. So, it's true, Yu Ling's cultivation talent has risen to top tier. If I'm not mistaken, the treasure she took from the Lake of Death must have been something that could elevate talent, Yi Tian concluded. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Chapter 65, Cultivation Geniuses and Combat Geniuses. Chapter 65, Cultivation Geniuses and Combat Geniuses. Yi Tian, will you accept my invitation? Yu Ling eagerly inquired. Yi Tian hesitated for a moment before nodding. All right, I am willing to enter the secret realm with you. In truth, he too was extremely curious about what lay inside the secret realm. At the level of a great martial warrior, he considered himself nearly invincible and harbored no fears concerning any other great martial warriors. For Yu Ling, venturing into the secret realm might be dangerous, but Yi Tian didn't care about the so-called risks. Furthermore, entering the secret realm could provide numerous benefits. Why wouldn't he seize the opportunity? However, it was prudent not to show excessive excitement and it was better to keep a low profile. Yu Ling, I'd like a report on the talented great martial warriors at the Demon Sea base. Can you obtain that? After all, we're entering the secret realm, it's better to know more about the other talents, Yi Tian said. No problem, Yu Ling quickly agreed. In 3 days, I will deliver the report to you. Additionally, the secret realm will open in 20 days. During this period, it's best if you don't go out. Any delay could prevent us from entering. Understood, Yi Tian nodded. After bidding Yu Ling farewell, Yi Tian began his cultivation. With 20 days remaining, he could fully utilize this time to advance his training. Occasionally, he would go out. If he encountered talents worth copying, he would do so. If not, he would reserve his talent copying opportunities. After all, in 20 days, he would meet many talented individuals with highly beneficial abilities. If he used up his copying chances now, he would be unable to do so in 20 days. 3 days later, a messenger from Yu Ling delivered a report several dozen pages long. Alone, Yi Tian slowly flipped through the data. Fortunately, Yu Ling had provided a simple ranking of these talents, otherwise, the sheer amount of information would have been overwhelming. Cultivation geniuses, combat geniuses. Talents were primarily divided into these two categories. Cultivation geniuses were those with exceptional cultivation talents, meaning the speed of their cultivation was higher. Combat geniuses, on the other hand, had talents that significantly amplified their offensive capabilities. They utterly dominated other martial warriors of the same level, to the extent that even cultivation geniuses dared not offend these combat geniuses. If one were both a combat genius and a cultivation genius, then they could truly be considered an exceptional talent. The number one cultivation genius among great martial warriors, Yun Tian, the third young master of the Yun family. He is suspected to possess extraordinary talent. In just a year and a half, he reached the pinnacle of the great martial warrior realm. Extraordinary talent. Upon seeing the name associated with these cultivation talents, Yi Tian speculated that extraordinary talents must be a level above top-tier cultivation talents. He then continued to scan the list of cultivation geniuses. In total, there were only 3 talents suspected to have extraordinary abilities. Within the vast Demon Sea base, it was improbable that there were only 3 with extraordinary talents. However, at the level of great martial warriors, there seemed to be only these 3. Others were either just beginning their cultivation journey, or had reached the realm of grandmasters, or even higher. Sadly, these 3 geniuses with extraordinary talents would surely not make casual appearances before others. Their families must be providing them extreme protection. They might not even participate in the upcoming secret realm, Yi Tian guessed. So, replicating the extraordinary talents of these 3 geniuses wouldn't be easy, but it was certainly possible. In addition to these 3, there were even more geniuses with top-tier cultivation talents, no fewer than 50, and these were merely the ones at the Great Martial Warrior level. If the scope were expanded to encompass the entire Demon Sea base, the number of such geniuses with top-tier cultivation talents would likely multiply many times over. At this point, Yi Tian had to admit that the warriors of the Demon Sea base far outclassed those from Linhai base in terms of innate talent. This discrepancy had little to do with geography or population, it mainly stemmed from the cultivation levels of one's parents. If the parents had high levels of cultivation, then their offspring would be born with high innate talents. The Demon Sea base had flourished through generations, giving birth to numerous high-talent individuals. This was an advantage Linhai base simply couldn't match. Even if Linhai base did produce a genius, that individual would typically leave for a larger base, stunting the smaller base's development. For smaller bases, this was a vicious cycle, but for larger bases, it was a virtuous one. Let's look at combat geniuses next. Yi Tian opened the page dedicated to combat geniuses and began to browse intently. The top great martial warrior combat genius is Yun Feng, a peripheral talent of the Yun family. He's at the peak of the great martial warrior realm and is suspected to have a top-tier wind blade talent and a basic level speed talent. What? Top-tier wind blade talent? Yi Tian was stunned. A wind blade talent was undoubtedly an offensive type, capable of amplifying attack power. A top-tier wind blade talent could probably amplify attack power by as much as 20 times. Coupled with the 2 elephant units of force that a peak great martial warrior could wield, this amounted to an attack strength of 40 elephant units of force. In terms of attack power, Yi Tian only had 27.6 elephant units of force. I underestimated these geniuses. Yun Feng can deliver attacks with 40 elephant units of force, which is even more potent than the attacks of the Titan Forest Ape I encountered earlier. However, Yun Feng's speed isn't as fast as the Titan Forest Apes, and his defense isn't as formidable. Overall, his comprehensive strength is much weaker than that of the Titan Forest Ape, Yi Tian analyzed. When compared to Yun Feng, Yi Tian's advantages lay in defense, speed, and healing talents. After all, he possessed top-tier speed talent, mid-level defense talent, and top-tier healing talent. Even if he was at a lower realm than Yun Feng, he could still overpower him simply by relying on his talents. However, I must make sure that this information is complete. If these guys have hidden other talents, then their real strength will not be as it seems. In the future, when encountering other geniuses, I mustn't underestimate them. I have to give my all, Yi Tian cautioned himself. Besides Yunfeng, there were many other combat geniuses whose abilities should not be underestimated. Among them were those capable of delivering attacks with 30 elephant units of force. Some had particularly tricky abilities. Their attack power might not be impressive, but they had devious skills that were cause for concern. After spending a good half of the day, Yi Tian had gained a rudimentary understanding of these talented individuals. What came next was waiting for the opening of the secret realm. In the midst of his busy cultivation, 17 days quickly passed. That day, Yu Ling sent someone to invite Yi Tian to the Yu family. The time had come to enter the secret realm. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Chapter 66, Wind Controlling Ship, 100 times the speed of sound. Chapter 66, Wind Controlling Ship, 100 times the speed of sound. Yu Family Estate. When Yi Tian arrived here, escorted by an elite martial warrior, he couldn't help but marvel at the sight of the Yu family's residential area. The estate the Yu family occupied was expansive, featuring numerous tall buildings and even clusters of retro-style villas. A large number of martial warriors were milling about, and elite martial warriors could be seen from time to time. The Yu family even had a considerable number of heavily armed guards, each clad in armor and wielding a spear, patrolling the area like ancient soldiers. Had Yi Tian not been guided, he would have found it impossible to enter the Yu family's estate. Along the way, Yi Tian had been using his cloning talent to assess the talents of the Yu family members. Medium cultivation talent, medium cultivation talent, low-level cultivation talent, high-level cultivation talent. After carefully observing, Yi Tian noticed that most of them had medium or low-level cultivation talents. Of course, there were also plenty of ordinary people in the Yu family. There weren't many with high-level cultivation talent, indicating that such a talent was relatively good within the Yu family. As for top-tier cultivation talent, Yi Tian hadn't seen a single one. Not that there weren't any, he just hadn't encountered them yet. Young Master Yi Tian, we've arrived, said the escort, pointing to an open space not far away. There, over 20 people had already gathered, around a dozen young individuals, 6 or 7 middle-aged people, and 1 elderly man. Yi Tian, you've arrived. Yu Ling called out as he walked over. Yes, I've arrived, Yi Tian responded, nodding faintly. At that moment, he sensed several unfriendly gazes directed at him. Sensing Yi Tian's awareness, Yu Ling walked over and whispered, I gave the quota to you, which has made some of our clan members unhappy. But don't worry about them. Yi Tian nodded slightly, he wasn't concerned about mere martial warriors. The most talented among them had, at best, top-tier cultivation talent, and their special talents were far inferior to Yu Ling's. He might have paid more attention if someone had extraordinary talents. At that point, the elderly man glanced deeply at Yi Tian and announced, since everyone is here, let's set off. Boom! A flying ship materialized out of thin air. The sight completely astounded Yi Tian. A young man from the Yu family sneered, what, never seen a wind-controlling ship before? We of the Yu family own as many as 10 of these. Feeling slighted, Yi Tian retorted, the Yu family may have 10, but do you? Come talk to me when you do. Otherwise, just shut up. The young man was left speechless, unsure of how to respond. Was he to claim the wind-controlling ship as his? He dared not. The ship belonged to the Yu family, not to him. HMPH, it's easy to enter the secret realm, but not so easy to leave. I'd hate to see Ling waste a quota on you, the young man scoffed. Don't worry, if anyone's going to die, it won't be me, Yi Tian chuckled. All right, young people, let's not get too heated, the elderly man interrupted, his gaze shifting between Yi Tian and the young man as a subtle aura of pressure emanated from him. Instantly, the young man from the Yu family fell silent, and so did Yi Tian. Both wore expressions of caution. This old man is really powerful, Yi Tian thought to himself, feeling a tinge of surprise. He used his talent to scrutinize the old man. Human, Yu Ben. Cultivation talent, top tier. Swordsmanship talent, basic. Old man Yu Ben possessed top-tier cultivation talent and basic-level swordsmanship talent. Given Yu Ben's age, he must have practiced for a long time, possibly reaching the peak realm of a grandmaster. In that case, his combat power would have been unimaginable, far surpassing Yi Tian. Go ahead, Yu Ben said indifferently. Whoosh, the cabin door of the wind-controlling ship opened. Swoosh, 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 One martial warrior after another leapt into the air, entering the wind-controlling ship. Yi Tian stood alongside Yu Ling. The interior of the wind-controlling ship was quite spacious, with numerous seats. Yi Tian and Yu Ling found adjacent seats and sat down. Yu Ling, the wind-controlling ship was constructed using formations, right? Yi Tian curiously inquired. Yes, the wind-controlling ship is made using a levitation formation and multiple other formations. The materials for constructing it are rare, making it very expensive. If measured in monetary terms, it's worth tens of billions. Yu Ling explained. Gasp, worth tens of billions. Yi Tian couldn't help but be astonished by the price of the wind-controlling ship. At that moment, Yu Ling continued, actually, nobody is willing to sell a wind-controlling ship. Even if you have the money, you can't buy it. Do you know what its top speed is? How fast? Yi Tian displayed a thirst for knowledge. 100 times the speed of sound. Yu Ling said seriously. 100 times the speed of sound. Yi Tian was genuinely shocked. That speed was incredibly fast. Even supersonic jets from his previous world would be inferior in comparison. Of course, activating 100 times the speed of sound comes at a great cost, requiring the use of extremely valuable yuan-qi stones, Yu Ling immediately explained. Yuan-qi stones were formed from the condensation of the world's yuan-qi. Earth had been nurtured by yuan-qi for only 100 years, so there weren't many of these stones. It was extremely difficult to find even one, making them practically invisible on the market. They were exceedingly valuable resources. Without them, the wind-controlling ship would have a hard time flying. Even with the help of the world's natural yuan-qi, it wouldn't reach the speed of sound. Therefore, using the wind-controlling ship was a resource-consuming endeavor. Even the Yu family didn't dare to waste yuan-qi stones to activate a speed of 100 times the speed of sound. This time, the Yu family had activated only 10 times the speed of sound on the wind-controlling ship. That speed was already very fast. As they were in the air, unobstructed, they could fly without worry. If they were on the ground, even a grandmaster wouldn't dare to casually elevate the speed to 10 times the speed of sound, that could easily cause problems. Under the state of flying at 10 times the speed of sound, they reached their destination swiftly. Everyone, come out, Yu Ben's voice echoed in everyone's ears. The cabin door opened, and one martial warrior from the Yu family after another jumped out, followed by Yi Tian. Below was a range of mountains, and Yi Tian and the Yu family members landed on a flat area atop one of the peaks. Whoosh, the air quivered, and the massive wind-controlling ship vanished. At that moment, Yi Tian clearly saw that the wind-controlling ship was taken away by Yu Ben. Yu Ben must have some sort of storage equipment with a huge space. Yi Tian said enviously. He also wished to obtain such equipment, but unfortunately had no means, it was unviable. I'll ask Yu Ling in the future if there's a way to get storage equipment, Yi Tian secretly planned. Others have also arrived, Yu Ling whispered. Yi Tian looked around and saw that martial warriors were landing on the surrounding mountain peaks from their respective wind-controlling ships. In just half an hour, over 40 wind-controlling ships had arrived, and the number of arriving martial warriors had quickly reached nearly 1,000. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. X. Chapter 67. The Sudden Appearance of a King-Level Warrior. Chapter 67. The Sudden Appearance of a King-Level Warrior. Due to the considerable distance between the warriors, Yi Tian naturally couldn't inspect the talents of all of them. After all, the range of his talent inspection ability only covered about 200 meters. Yet, within this mere 200-meter radius, many warriors were encompassed. Inspect. In an instant, phantom screens appeared on his retina. Each screen represented the talent of a warrior. He could simultaneously inspect the talents of 100 warriors, a capability generated by his upgraded talent copying ability, eliminating the need to check them one by one. High-level sight talent, not bad. It would be quite useful for tracking people, but it's not very useful to me right now. Basic shape-shifting talent, pretty good. With this talent, one can change one's size, appearance, and even, well, that. Truly, a boon for men. However, it's currently not of much use to my strength. Various talents flashed before Yi Tian's eyes, but none caught his fancy. The ones that could be considered worthwhile were top-tier cultivation talents. If he copied several more of those, perhaps his top-tier cultivation talents could metamorphose into extraordinary talents. However, he could only copy one talent at the moment. Maybe in the future, if his talent copying ability evolved, he might be able to copy multiple talents at once. But not now. I've already wasted a lot of time. I must copy a satisfactory talent for this round, Yi Tian thought to himself. Suddenly, there was a commotion on a nearby mountain. Who was that person? Yi Tian looked in the direction of the disturbance and saw a young man in white, who was the subject of much discussion among the crowd. Many people were looking at the young man in white. That's Yun Feng, Yu Ling introduced. So, he is Yun Feng, Yi Tian realized. He had read the files on the prodigies. Yun Feng was ranked first among combat talents. Yun Feng possessed a top-tier wind blade talent and a basic speed talent. These were the two talents known to the public. Whether he had other talents was unknown, but it was unlikely. Given his status as a combat prodigy, many people would be studying him, making it difficult to conceal any talents. Moreover, possessing two special talents was already a phenomenal feat, unless one had the talent copying ability, which could allow for even more talents. Wind blade talent is indeed a good talent, amplifying attacks by 20 times and offering a long-range attack option. But it can't amplify my combat strength, Yi Tian lamented inwardly. His actual physical strength was only at 250,000 catties, but with a 10x strength talent and a 6x bronze level mastery in Qingfeng technique, these two talents could stack, resulting in a 60x amplification. The reason the strength talent and blade technique could stack was because the blade technique wasn't considered a talent. It was an attack method developed through a blade skill talent, so the strength talent could enhance it. The two formed a stacking effect. But wind blade talent wouldn't work in that way. Wind blade talent couldn't stack with the strength talent, as both were attack type talents. If they could stack, it would throw things into chaos. If that were possible, he would have copied a slew of attack talents long ago, and their stacking effect would let him vanquish anything, maybe even gods and demons. But that was unrealistic. My physical strength is only 250,000 catties, and it becomes 500,000 catties after the elemental power amplification. Even if I copied Wind Blade, my attack power would only be 10 million catties, equivalent to the power of 10 elephants. It wouldn't contribute much to my combat strength. At best, it would compensate for my weakness in long-range attacks, Yi Tian thought. Therefore, he wasn't keen on copying the top-tier Wind Blade talent, at least not for now. Just as Yi Tian was lost in thought, the void started to quiver. The spatial rift is about to emerge. Yu Ling whispered, her gaze shifting upward to the sky. Crack, crack, crack. The sky seemed as if it were shattering, making a sizzling sound that sent shivers down one's spine. Boom, accompanied by a thunderous noise, a surge of elemental energy erupted from an unknown source. A small black dot appeared 100 meters up in the air, gradually expanding into a tiny rift. Then, the rift widened until it was about a meter long. But there it stopped, expanding no further. A measly 1 meter long spatial rift with an estimated width of less than 10 centimeters, such a rift was hardly large enough for a person to pass through. Anyone foolish enough to try would likely be torn asunder, even if they were a top-tier grandmaster. Yi Tian wondered what to do next, and many of the martial warriors seemed equally puzzled. Suddenly, grandmasters from various major families respectfully bowed and exclaimed, "May Lord Yunhe Wang take action." "All right," a voice pervaded the air, echoing like the sound of heaven and earth. In the next moment, everyone cried out in astonishment. Suspended in midair appeared a figure who looked to be in his early 30s. But Yi Tian knew better. The person was certainly much older than that. The lifespan of someone beyond the realm of Grandmaster was considerably longer than that of ordinary people. For instance, a Grandmaster could live up to 200 years. Yi Tian wasn't sure about the lifespan of those even more advanced, but they could undoubtedly live much longer. Such warriors should not be judged by their appearance. "He's flying in midair, this is a king-class warrior," Yu Ling said, admiration filling her voice. "King class," Yi Tian whispered, "is that the next realm above Grandmaster?" Yu Ling nodded, "Exactly, king class is the next realm beyond Grandmaster. Not only can they fly, but their lifespan also extends to about 500 years. However, even those with top-tier cultivation talents have less than a 10% chance of reaching this level. And for those with extraordinary cultivation talents, the probability isn't 100%, it's more like 80%. It's said that one must satisfy certain conditions to achieve king-class status. Is this figure an individual with extraordinary cultivation talents?" Yi Tian ventured to ask. "It seems so, but I'm not sure," Yu Ling shook her head. Extraordinary cultivation talents. Extraordinary cultivation talents. Yi Tian's mind was consumed by these words. The next moment, his eyes were filled with desire and determination. He wanted to observe the talents of this king-class entity. If he confirmed that the figure possessed extraordinary cultivation talents, he would copy them without hesitation. Opportunities for extraordinary cultivation talents were rare, and Yi Tian didn't know when he would encounter another. Missing this would be too regrettable. Yi Tian estimated the straight-line distance between him and the king-class warrior to be just over 200 meters. So, Yi Tian started walking toward the other side, slowly approaching the king-class figure. Yunhee Wang means Cloud River King. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Chapter 68, Extraordinary Talent. 250 meters, 230 meters, 220 meters. Yi Tian walked slowly, as if wandering aimlessly. Almost no one paid attention to him, except Yu Ling. What is Yi Tian doing? Yu Ling wondered but soon turned her gaze back to Yunhee Wang, floating in the sky. Watching a king level in action was an opportunity not to be missed. Boom! Finally, Yunhee Wang made his move. A pair of enormous glowing hands emerged from the void, reaching into the 1-meter-long spatial rift. Open! Yunhee Wang roared. Crack, crack, crack. The previously static spatial rift tore open once more, widening under the influence of the glowing hands, eventually forming a hole 5 meters long and 2 meters wide. Yet, everyone clearly saw that during the process, Yunhee Wang's glowing hands were vanishing, his aura slightly weakening. This suggested that tearing open the rift was somewhat strenuous for him, and not without cost. By this time, Yi Tian was less than 200 meters away from Yunhee Wang. Instantly, he checked Yunhee Wang's talents. Human, Yunhee. Cultivation talent, extraordinary. Spatial talent, basic. Wow, he even has spatial talent. Yi Tian exclaimed. To his knowledge, spatial and temporal talents were mysterious and superior to other talents. This was the first time he encountered a martial warrior with spatial talent. He wanted to replicate this spatial talent but eventually gritted his teeth and copied Yunhee Wang's extraordinary cultivation talent instead. A basic spatial talent might be marvelous, but an extraordinary cultivation talent was invaluable, impacting the future. Besides, there were also ferocious beasts with spatial talents. Those could be found if he searched. Weighing the options, copying the extraordinary cultivation talent made more sense. A few seconds after Yi Tian copied the extraordinary talent, Yunhee Wang disappeared. Lucky I copied it in time, or I would have missed such an extraordinary talent, Yi Tian thought gratefully. He then walked back to Yu Ling. That's a king-level being, capable of living 500 years. The Earth has only undergone its great transformation a mere 100 years ago. 500 years is an incredibly long time. Yu Ling sighed. I wonder if I can ever reach king level in this lifetime. She had acquired treasures, boosting her talent to a top cultivation level, but the probability of reaching king level remained below 10%. Even within the Grand Base in the Demon Sea, numerous top-level cultivators were stuck at the peak of the Grandmaster level, only a scarce few had managed to step into the king-level realm. Don't overthink it, let things happen naturally, Yi Tian advised. Says the guy with the cheat lol. Right, let's go with the flow, Yu Ling lifted her spirits, at least we can enter the Grandmaster realm and live up to 200 years. Many martial warriors never get the chance to reach that level in their lifetime, not to mention those who are destined never to become martial warriors. Compared to them, we are extremely fortunate. Indeed, we are incredibly fortunate. Yi Tian wholeheartedly agreed. It was due to sheer luck that he had awakened his ability to clone talents, a stroke of fortune that led him step by step to his current standing. Without this cloning ability, even if he were a time traveler, he would never have become powerful. He wouldn't even have the chance to become an elite martial warrior due to his inherent limitations. Prepare to enter the secret realm. The family elders commanded the gathered martial warriors. Elder Yu Ben also turned to address the martial warriors of the Yu family. Once you enter the secret realm, try to ally with members of our clan. It's safer that way. You can stay in the realm for only 1 month. If you don't return within that period, you'll have to wait another decade to leave. The secret realm has mysterious rules that prevent one from breaking through to the Grandmaster realm while in it. Don't harbor any false hopes. You should all understand the consequences of wasting 10 years at your age. We understand, Elder, replied the Yu family martial warriors in unison. Suddenly, Yu Ling handed Yi Tian a wristwatch. This is a contact sensor. Even within the secret realm, we can use this device to locate each other. Once we enter, we'll be teleported and should regroup as quickly as possible. Understood, Yi Tian fastened the wristwatch and then asked, how do we leave after a month? It was a fair question, his knowledge of the secret realm was still quite limited. We exit through the same spatial rift, explained Yu Ling. Once we're all in, someone will place an artifact inside the rift. At that time, a mysterious light will illuminate the entire secret realm. We can then use this light to locate the rift and calculate the time to exit. Ah, I see, Yi Tian finally understood. In essence, the spatial rift was a gateway, and there was another rift on the secret realm's side. Instead of exiting from that rift, they would be flung by spatial forces to various locations within the realm. Whoosh, 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 one by one, the martial warriors leapt into the spatial rift and disappeared. Soon, it was the turn of the Yu family members. Yi Tian followed Yu Ling, entering the rift one after the other. As he entered, he was enveloped by a force of spatial energy. Boom! A surge of force assailed him, and Yi Tian felt slightly disoriented as he plummeted towards a particular location. Secret realm. Yi Tian appeared next to a small stream, his impact creating a large crater in the ground. Thankfully, his body was sturdy, otherwise, an average person would have been reduced to pulp by such a fall. After standing up and assessing his surroundings to ensure there were no immediate dangers, Yi Tian quickly sought a suitable resting place. He was preparing to start the integration of an extraordinary level cultivation talent. Soon, he found a pile of rocks, large enough to hide a person and unlikely to be discovered. Entering this rock pile, he sat down cross-legged and began the integration process. Boom! A wave of intense pain shot through him. It felt like the first time he had integrated a talent. The pain from the integration of this extraordinary level cultivation talent was even more intense than he had imagined. Yet, thinking about the benefits that would come after, he endured it. After an indeterminate amount of time, Yi Tian recovered, coming out of a period of discomfort. His body was soaked, his clothing stained with sweat. His first action was not to clean himself but to check the status of his talents. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Chapter 69, Harvest. Human, Yi Tian Cultivation Talent, Extraordinary Speed Talent, Top-Tier Blade Talent, High-Level Shadow Talent, Low Healing Talent, Top-Tier Strength Talent, High-Level Endurance Talent, Mid-Tier Defense Talent, Mid-Tier. Yi Tian gazed at the lone, extraordinary, listed under his cultivation talent, filled with excitement. With this extraordinary level cultivation talent, I can become a grandmaster in no time. The chance of becoming a king-level practitioner might not be 100%, but an 80% likelihood is still significant. As long as I'm not supremely unlucky, I should be able to become not just a king-level but an even more powerful being, he muttered to himself. Soon after, he went to the edge of a small stream and cleaned himself. Only then did he have the time to check his communicator watch. He saw 2 red dots on it, presumably marking the locations of him and Yu Ling. At that moment, the other red dot was slowly moving closer to him. This stationary red dot represents me, and the other one represents Yu Ling. Yu Ling is running towards me. I should get moving, I can't just stay idle. Thus, Yi Tian started moving. Along the way, he didn't dare to run too fast and remained ever vigilant of his surroundings. He knew very little about this secret realm, except that it was filled with numerous treasures, such as herbs that had aged for hundreds or even thousands of years. On Earth, herbs seldom exceed 100 years in age, given that the Great Change had only occurred a century ago. It was only during these 100 years that the world's elemental energy emerged, leading to the growth of many herbs. As for millennium-old herbs, those were artifacts of ancient times and incredibly rare on Earth, almost as difficult to find as fighting a king-level beast. However, in this mystical realm, he sensed it wouldn't be too hard to find herbs that had aged for hundreds or even thousands of years. Sure enough, Yi Tian had not run for long when he sensed an object rich in elemental energy. It's over there. Yi Tian jogged toward it and started digging. Soon, he unearthed a ginseng root. 100-year-old ginseng. Yi Tian joyously collected it. 100-year-old ginseng like this would fetch a price of $50 million at the Magic Sea base. Although he had hundreds of millions in savings, it wouldn't be enough for long-term cultivation. Now, just having entered this mystical realm, he had already reaped such rewards. He could only imagine what more lay ahead. No wonder those warriors from the Yu family were so opposed to me. A spot like this, if sold, could fetch tens of billions. Yet Yu Ling gave this valuable spot to me, Yi Tian mused. He had already decided that he would do his best to protect Yu Ling within this mystical realm. As he continued to move forward, he encountered several more valuable items along the way. Anything worth more than $1 million, he collected. The only regret was that he didn't have a storage bag, so his load quickly became rather bulky. Several hours passed, and Yi Tian checked his position. He was about to meet up with Yu Ling. Just then, a ferocious beast appeared before him. Species: Blood Tiger Beast. Bloodline Talent: High Level. Blood Flame Talent: Basic. A blood tiger beast, roughly the size of a calf, glared menacingly at Yi Tian and immediately lunged at him. Yi Tian had encountered several of these vicious beasts along the way. These blood tiger beasts were high-ranking predators, but more troublesome than typical high-ranking ones, as they could ignite their own blood, even amplifying the power of their bloodline, thus momentarily unleashing an attack several times more potent. A single desperate blood tiger was capable of killing a mid-level martial warrior, or even severely injuring a late-stage one, albeit at the cost of debilitating itself. As the blood tiger charged, Yi Tian slashed at it with his blade. With a splattering sound, the blood tiger was cleaved in half by the blade's aura, dead beyond any doubt. The blood of the blood tiger beast was valuable, but Yi Tian had no time to collect it. He couldn't carry any more of it as he had only brought a single water bottle into this secret realm. Bypassing the corpse of the blood tiger, Yi Tian rapidly sprinted towards Yu Ling's location. A minute later, Yi Tian finally saw Yu Ling, but her condition looked grim. She was covered in wounds, her face pale, and was currently fighting a group of ferocious beasts, more blood tigers. Apparently, this region was their territory. 13 blood tigers, Yi Tian counted. Including the one he had killed, the total number reached 20. Needless to say, Yu Ling was unlucky to have encountered so many blood tigers at once. Why would Yu Ling be injured? These blood tigers shouldn't be able to hurt her. Yu Ling has a secondary speed talent that doubles her speed. If she wanted to escape, these blood tigers couldn't stop her, Yi Tian thought, puzzled. Just then, Yu Ling unleashed a powerful sword technique. 10-direction blade. Dense sword light swept across a radius of tens of meters. One by one, the blood tigers were torn apart by the sword light and fell into pools of blood. What a strong sword technique, likely a bronze level 1, but even stronger than the Qingfeng slash, Yi Tian estimated. He knew that among bronze level blade techniques, Qingfeng slash was not particularly strong. Some complete bronze level techniques could even increase attack power sevenfold. However, such techniques were rare and costly. But for the Yu family, a prominent family in the Demon Sea base, obtaining such a bronze level sword technique would not be difficult for Yu Ling. After the 10-direction blade move, the blood tigers were almost entirely wiped out, leaving only a few. That's when Yi Tian stepped in and instantly killed the remaining blood tigers. Yu Ling, how did you get hurt? These blood tigers shouldn't have been able to injure you. Yi Tian inquired. Bad luck. I encountered a powerful high-ranking beast with a special talent. If I didn't have my secondary speed talent, I'd be dead by now, Yu Ling said, her heart still pounding. Soon, Yi Tian learned from Yu Ling about the beast, a mysterious creature with a talent for eye techniques. It had a third eye on its forehead that could emit black light, which easily penetrated Yu Ling's defenses. Had she not been quick to flee, she might have died. Eye technique talent. Yi Tian was very interested, but finding that beast now would be difficult, given that it could be anywhere by now. You rest and heal, I'll stand guard for you, Yi Tian suggested. Alright, Yu Ling agreed without hesitation. She sat cross-legged, took out a bottle of high-grade healing liquid from her storage bag, drank it, and began to heal her injuries. Half an hour later, Yu Ling had recovered. Just as they were about to leave, an eerie light emanated from the sky. The light illuminated the area and also reached Yi Tian. That's light emitted from within a spatial rift. The source of the light is the spatial rift itself. Judging by the distance, we're not too far from it, so our luck is not bad, Yu Ling said, relieved. If they had been unlucky, the spatial rift would have been far away, potentially consuming half their time just to get there, leaving little time for any benefits. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Chapter 70. The various abilities of spatial talent. Chapter 70. The various abilities of spatial talent. Once Yi Tian and Yu Ling had determined the location of the spatial rift, their worries were dispelled. Yu Ling, where should we go next? Yi Tian inquired. He had no idea where to go, aimlessly wandering could hardly yield substantial gains. Being able to enter this secret realm only once every 10 years, would it not be a wasted trip if they didn't collect enough valuable items? Yu Ling looked at Yi Tian intently and said, Yi Tian, there are some things I haven't told you. Do you know what the most precious treasure in this secret realm is? I don't know, Yi Tian shook his head. Yu Ling spoke gravely, the most valuable treasures here can enhance your innate talent and chi stones. There are chi stones here. Yi Tian was astonished. Yes, and there are quite a few. It's said that there are chi stone veins in this secret realm. Every time a chi stone vein is discovered, it causes many people to fight over it. For example, 10 years ago, a chi stone vein was discovered, and over 100 martial warriors fought over it. Ultimately, the Yun family took away most of the chi stones. According to estimates, that chi stone vein contained as many as 10,000 chi stones, Yuling explained. 10,000 pieces, that's so many. Yi Tian was well aware of how expensive 10,000 chi stones would be. Even a single chi stone was unaffordable. If someone were willing to sell a chi stone, 10 billion might not even be enough to buy it. In other words, Yi Tian's entire fortune wasn't even worth one chi stone. So, are we going to seize these chi stones? Yi Tian was somewhat expectant. No, chi stone veins are rare, and we don't even know where to begin to look for them. My goal is the treasure that can enhance innate talents. If we can find a treasure that can elevate our cultivation talents to an extraordinary level, then we would truly strike it rich. Said an excited Yuling, who then sighed. Unfortunately, in the past century, only one such treasure capable of elevating a martial warrior's talents to an extraordinary level has appeared. Such treasures are incredibly rare. Yi Tian nodded, agreeing with Yuling's statement. If treasures that could elevate one's cultivation talents to extraordinary level were easy to acquire, then extraordinary level talents wouldn't be so rare. Then, Yuling shared something that excited Yi Tian further. Although I don't know where to find the treasure that can elevate one's cultivation talents to extraordinary level, I do know of a treasure that can raise them to a top-tier level. Such a treasure would be worth no less than 100 billion. After saying this, Yuling looked at Yi Tian. Yi Tian, there's more than one of these treasures. My father discovered them 20 years ago, but he wasn't strong enough to defeat the fierce beasts guarding them, so he couldn't retrieve them. This secret was never shared with the Yu family. However, this time, my father told me. Also, my father left a sensor there, so I can find it. But my strength isn't enough. I need your help. I can promise to give you half of the gains. What do you say? What kind of strength do the fierce beasts have, and what exactly is this treasure? Yi Tian quickly posed two questions. Yuling introduced, there is only one ferocious beast, a black wolf that is 1 meter long. Although it's small in size, its strength is incredibly formidable. The key thing is that this black wolf possesses a terrifying ability, spatial talent for teleportation. The ability to teleport indicates that the creature's spatial talents have reached a medium level. Teleportation, medium level, does that mean that each level of spatial talent comes with different abilities? Yi Tian asked, filled with curiosity. Yuling elaborated, the Demon Sea base also has warriors with spatial talents. According to these warriors, those with weak level spatial talents have the ability to sense their surroundings through spatial perception. This sense is stronger and more discrete than mental sensing and is hard to detect. Those with low-tier spatial talents can leave spatial marks, and sense these marks even from great distances. This ability is also essential for creating storage bags. We can establish a connection with the storage bags due to the abilities granted by sub-medium spatial talents. Of course, those who make the bags erase this connection, otherwise we would not be able to claim them as our own. Then there are those with basic level spatial talents, who can create a small personal space, far more convenient than a storage bag. As for medium level spatial talents, as I've just told you, their ability is teleportation. What about high level spatial talents? Yi Tian curiously inquired, noting that Yuling had omitted this information. Yuling's expression changed dramatically. There are no warriors with high-level spatial talents in the Demon Sea base, but some ferocious beasts possess them. Yi Tian, if you ever encounter a beast with high-level spatial abilities, do everything in your power to escape. Such creatures are terrifyingly powerful and difficult for warriors to defeat. Let me tell you this, a king-level warrior was instantly killed by a top-level beast possessing high-level spatial talents. The ability granted by high-level spatial talent is the spatial blade, and not even king-level warriors can withstand it. Moreover, creatures with high-level spatial talents are incredibly fast. They can teleport over long distances, making them hard to escape even for king-level warriors. Yi Tian gasped. This high-level spatial talent is utterly outrageous. It totally ignores realms. Spatial and temporal talents are indeed the two supreme talents. It's rumored that temporal talents are even more terrifying than spatial ones, but I wonder what abilities they grant, Yi Tian mused, his curiosity unabated. However, Yuling was also unaware of temporal talents. No warriors in the entire Demon Sea base possessed them, nor had he ever heard of beasts with such talents. Perhaps someone had encountered them, but had not lived to share the news. Yi Tian, the treasure guarded by the black wolf is the heavenly soul flower. When my father saw it, there were 8 flowers. The black wolf likely won't consume the heavenly soul flower, as it doesn't benefit its spatial talents. The flower mainly benefits those training in talent and bloodline talents, not spatial talents. It guards them simply because they are in its lair. Moreover, the black wolf can only teleport, it doesn't possess the spatial blade ability, so we still have hope. I heard that your sister has medium-level training talents. If she gets the heavenly soul flower, she could become a top-level talent trainer. Yu Ling tried to entice him. Yu Ling, you don't need to say all that. I'm in, Yi Tian said, grinning. In reality, his excitement knew no bounds. What thrilled him was not the heavenly soul flower, but the black wolf's medium-level spatial talent. It was far more powerful than Yunhe Wang's basic-level spatial talent, adding the ability to teleport. Although his cloning ability was in cooldown, if he could kill the black wolf and take its body, he could clone its spatial talents once the cooldown ended. The double benefits of spatial talent and the heavenly soul flower made the venture too good to pass up. Really? Then let's hurry. However, I can only watch from the sidelines. After all, I'm no match for the black wolf and can't even hold it off, Yu Ling said, her face flushed. Don't worry, leave the black wolf to me, Yi Tian assured her. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Chapter 71, The Moon Wolf That Travels Through Space. Chapter 71, The Moon Wolf That Travels Through Space. Yu Ling pulled out a communicator from her storage bag. Unlike a wristwatch, this communicator had the form of a mobile phone. Yi Tian glanced at Yu Ling's storage bag once more, but this time he felt no desire or interest. If he could acquire a talent for mid-level spatial manipulation, he could create a personal space pocket, something vastly superior to a storage bag. The value of a storage bag couldn't compare with that of a personal space. This is my father's communicator, Yu Ling explained. It's inscribed with a formation that slowly draws in elemental energy. Even after 20 years, it can still connect with the other communicator. Sure enough, a red dot appeared on the communicator's screen, indicating the location of the black wolf's den. Fortunately, it's not too far. We should be able to reach there in half a day if we quicken our pace, Yu Ling estimated. Fine, I'll take the lead. Follow me, Yi Tian said. Yi Tian walked in front while Yu Ling trailed behind. The two of them ran toward the location where the soul flowers were. Along the way, Yi Tian exhibited extraordinary power, swiftly killing any high-level beasts they encountered, some of which were so fearsome that even Yu Ling felt wary. Such terrifying strength, Yu Ling thought to herself. His power might even surpass that of ordinary masters, perhaps even close to Yun Feng, that freak. Initially, Yu Ling had not been very hopeful about obtaining the soul flowers. Now, however, she felt a renewed sense of confidence. Each soul flower was worth 10 billion, and there were 8 of them, she would receive 4, equaling a staggering 40 billion. This was an unimaginable bounty. And that didn't even consider other treasures they might find. Half a day passed, and Yi Tian and Yu Ling had covered a long distance, overcoming several herds of high-level beasts along the way. Although Yi Tian found some of them quite formidable, he managed to escape, carrying Yu Ling with him. Finally, the duo reached their destination relatively unscathed. This secret realm is too dangerous. If it weren't for you, Yi Tian, I don't think I could have made it here, Yu Ling admitted. Of course, her words were only half true. While she couldn't have taken on those beasts alone, as the daughter of the Yu family's main branch, she had her own trump cards. Yi Tian didn't entirely trust Yu Ling's words. He believed that even without his help, Yu Ling could have reached the soul flowers, although she probably wouldn't have been able to deal with the black wolf. Yu Ling, we're partners, and I'll do my best to help you. However, you have to help too. I assume you have some kind of trump card to counter the black wolf's teleportation abilities. Otherwise, killing it would be difficult, Yi Tian said. Yes, I do, Yu Ling responded without hesitation. I have a one-time use formation that can affect space within several hundred meters for 3 seconds, dramatically reducing the effectiveness of teleportation. But after 3 seconds, the formation will be useless. This formation is worth 2 billion and isn't easy to come by. If we fail to kill the wolf, it would be a great loss for me. 3 seconds should be enough, Yi Tian pondered aloud. He wasn't 100% certain, he'd have to see the black wolf's abilities to make a definitive judgment. Soon, Yi Tian and Yu Ling approached the black wolf's lair, which was located midway up a large mountain. Inside a huge cave, there was another world altogether, with the 8 soul flowers growing within. Around 3,000 meters away from the lair, Yi Tian heard a wolf's howl seemingly directed at them. "We've been discovered," Yu Ling said, her expression grave. "They detected us from this far away." Yi Tian wondered. Yi Tian was utterly astonished. If it was true, then Black Wolf's spatial sensing had detected them. Yet Yi Tian felt nothing at all. This eerie ability was truly terrifying, and the fact that even a low-level spatial talent could possess such an ability only underscored how formidable spatial talents were. The stronger the spatial talent, the less Yi Tian felt intimidated. On the contrary, he was extremely excited. Because once he killed the Black Wolf, that spatial talent would be his. "Yi Tian, let's just go there directly. We've already been exposed," Yu Ling suggested. Yi Tian agreed. It was better to deal with the Black Wolf as quickly as possible to prevent any changes. Whoosh, whoosh. In the blink of an eye, Yi Tian and Yu Ling quickly advanced and arrived at the mouth of Black Wolf's cave. Then, they burst into the cave. Inside was a vast space, with a hole in the ceiling connecting it to the outside world. Sunlight streamed in, making the cave as bright as the outside. "Nice environment. This Black Wolf really knows how to pick a den," Yi Tian commented. Boom! A powerful beastly aura filled the air. Silently, a Black Wolf appeared not far from Yi Tian, staring at him and Yu Ling with furious eyes. Check. Yi Tian activated his cloning talent to observe the Black Wolf's talents. Type: Moon Escaping Wolf. Bloodline talent: Top. Spatial talent: Medium. Enlargement talent: Medium. Seeing the talents of the Moon Escaping Wolf, Yi Tian was genuinely shocked. If it were in the outside world, it would undoubtedly be a top-tier beast, and a terrifying one at that within top-tier beasts. Moreover, it had not only medium spatial talent but also medium growth talent. Judging from the name, growth talent likely allowed it to grow larger. Yi Tian naively thought this talent merely made it grow, unaware that this likely also involved a multiple-fold increase in physical strength and other attributes. Yu Ling's father was unaware of this talent, probably because the Moon Escaping Wolf hadn't used it at the time. Had Yi Tian not checked the wolf's talents, he might have overlooked it, which would result in failure. "Yu Ling, you set up the array. I'll keep this Black Wolf occupied. Once the array is ready, let me know. Follow my command then." Yi Tian almost let slip the true name of the Moon Escaping Wolf but corrected himself just in time, otherwise, he really wouldn't know how to explain how he knew its name. Alright, Yu Ling agreed with Yi Tian's plan. Immediately, she took out a disc from her storage bag. The disc had mysterious patterns on it and emitted faint fluctuations that could slightly affect space. If Yi Tian successfully copied the spatial talent, he would be able to sense what those fluctuations meant: spatial fluctuations. This disc was actually a disposable array plate made jointly by spatial talents and array masters, so it had the ability to affect space. However, it only slowed down teleportation, it couldn't actually stop it. Acquiring an array that could truly prevent teleportation was beyond her reach, as it would be too valuable. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Chapter 72, Success in Killing and Gaining Treasures. Chapter 72, Success in Killing and Gaining Treasures. Roar. The Moon Stealth Wolf roared at Yi Tian, as if saying, "Humans, leave." The reason the Moon Stealth Wolf did not immediately attack Yi Tian was that it sensed a faint threat. It found Yi Tian to be very dangerous. If Yi Tian would voluntarily leave, the wolf saw no need for a violent confrontation. Whoosh! Yi Tian made his move, faster than lightning. This move startled the Moon Stealth Wolf. Without relying on teleportation, its speed was far inferior to Yi Tian's. Teleport. The Moon Stealth Wolf disappeared in an instant. It didn't achieve this through sheer speed but by warping space, teleporting to another location. This kind of teleportation could bypass any obstacles, making it far superior to mere speed. A missed strike. Yi Tian's blade hit the stone wall. Teleportation is frightening. I didn't notice the Moon Stealth Wolf's movement at all. Yi Tian was amazed. But after this probing move, Yi Tian had gathered some information. The Moon Stealth Wolf was not strong, its attack power only equivalent to the strength of 2 elephants, similar to that of an ultimate great martial warrior, making it the weakest among the high-level ferocious beasts. However, the Moon Stealth Wolf's spatial ability was extremely abnormal. It kept teleporting, making it impossible to hit. How could he kill the wolf if he couldn't hit it? Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Yi Tian and the Moon Stealth Wolf constantly chased each other. They moved so fast that even Yu Ling could not see either of them. This is insane. This black wolf can teleport, and that's fine, but Yi Tian doesn't even have spatial talents, and his speed has also reached this level. What level is his speed talent? Is it a high-level speed talent? Yu Ling marveled. However, she couldn't even catch sight of Yi Tian, so naturally, she couldn't gauge his speed. All she knew was that he was much faster than her. Immediately, she focused on setting up the formation. Setting up the formation was simple: fix the formation plate and activate it with yuan energy. Then let the plate slowly absorb the natural yuan energy. Once the energy was accumulated to a certain level, release the formation's power all at once. This process took 3 seconds. Almost there, Yu Ling observed the light on the formation plate and silently counted. About a minute passed, and the formation plate shone brightly. Yi Tian, it's ready. Yu Ling whispered. Although her voice was low, Yi Tian heard it. He knew the spatial inhibition formation plate was successfully set up and ready to effect the wolf's teleportation. Yu Ling, activate it. Yi Tian yelled. Hearing Yi Tian's command, Yu Ling immediately activated the spatial inhibition formation plate without hesitation. In an instant, a wave of spatial energy spread out. Although Yu Ling couldn't sense spatial energy, she felt a suppressing force, as if space was being restricted. At that moment, the continuously teleporting moon stealth wolf was suddenly slowed down. Teleporting became noticeably more difficult. Now's the chance. Yi Tian seized the opportunity, not wasting a single moment. 28 times the speed of sound. 10 times power. Shadow kill. The knife technique Yi Tian used was shadow kill, not green wind slash Qingfeng slash. The green wind slash could stack up to 6 times the attack power, which was indeed fearsome. However, Yi Tian didn't need such strong attacks. The attack power under Shadow Strike was nearly equivalent to the strength of 3 elephants. The power of 3 elephants was sufficient to deliver a fatal blow to the Moon Shadow Wolf. But the primary reason Yi Tian used the Shadow Strike was the speed of his blade. The 25-fold boost to his blade speed allowed Yi Tian's attacks to accelerate to 50 times their normal rate. Even a powerful Grandmaster might not be able to react in time, let alone the teleporting Moon Shadow Wolf, which was affected by the formation. At that moment, what Yi Tian sought was speed. Yu Ling said the formation would affect the Moon Shadow Wolf for 3 seconds, but Yi Tian didn't believe her timing. He trusted only his blade. Sensing imminent danger, the Moon Shadow Wolf unleashed its other innate talent, enlargement. In an instant, the wolf grew larger, its power and other attributes skyrocketing. Crack! With its enhanced capabilities, the Moon Shadow Wolf almost broke free from the formation's restraints, on the verge of teleporting away. Just then, the Shadow Strike arrived. Thwack! The blade sliced through the wolf's neck, nearly severing it. The next moment, the teleporting Moon Shadow Wolf reappeared 50 meters away, collapsing weakly to the ground, its life force waning. What? It wasn't affected for even a second. Yu Ling was shocked. She had initially thought the formation would last for 3 seconds, but in less than a second, the Moon Shadow Wolf's spatial abilities shattered the formation, breaking it into countless pieces. However, when she saw the lifeless Moon Shadow Wolf, she sighed in relief. freewebnovel.com. Yi Tian, I thought we were about to fail. Yu Ling approached, saying. Yi Tian also exhaled deeply, realizing that had he used the Qingfeng slash earlier, the wolf might have successfully teleported away. Thankfully, he had considered all possibilities, including the wolf's enlargement talent. Even after enlarging, the wolf's power had exceeded that of the 3-elephant force, stronger than the Shadow Strike. But what did it matter? Under absolute speed, the wolf's neck couldn't withstand Yi Tian's blade and was cleanly severed. Seeing that the Moon Shadow Wolf had truly lost its life and died, Yi Tian said, Yu Ling, I'm interested in the corpse of this black wolf. I plan to take it with me, you don't mind, do you? Yu Ling waved her hand, of course not, you killed it, so it naturally belongs to you. To her, the body of a high-grade fierce beast was not worth much, especially compared to a heavenly soul flower. Let's go check out the heavenly soul flowers, Yu Ling said impatiently. Yi Tian nodded, and they walked toward the location where the heavenly soul flowers grew. There, Yu Ling looked at the stone wall where the heavenly soul flowers were growing and exclaimed. 8 stunning heavenly soul flowers emitted a faint white glow, looking extraordinary. These heavenly soul flowers were already mature, but the longer they aged, the more effective they became. Indeed, these are heavenly soul flowers. I've seen them in my family's treasure vault before, but I wasn't qualified to use them, Yu Ling confirmed. She took out 8 jade boxes and carefully plucked the heavenly soul flowers one by one, placing them into the jade boxes to preserve their medicinal properties. Yu Ling, there seems to be a small passage over there. I'll go take a look. Yi Tian pointed to a small passage that was about human height in the distance. Dash 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 dash. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord. Web links until the end of November. For each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 73. Earth Surge Golden Lotus. Alright, let's go together then, but be cautious. Yu Ling casually responded. She had not noticed the small passageway before, assuming Yi Tian's interest was simply curiosity. However, what she failed to realize was that a deep yearning and excitement filled Yi Tian's eyes, which were constantly trained on that small passage. From the moment he entered the cave, he had felt a longing. After killing the moon-escaping wolf, he finally had the chance to inspect it more closely and found that his yearning was similar to the desire he had felt when he encountered the golden fruit. The object of his desire was exactly that small passageway. Inside, there must be a treasure that can enhance my copying abilities. Yi Tian was thrilled. He knew that items like the soul flowers, which improved one's cultivation aptitude, wouldn't do much for him. He was unaware of how to seek out items that could enhance his copying abilities. Now, he had finally stumbled upon one. I'll get it at any cost. Yi Tian silently clenched his fist. Yi Tian led, with Yu Ling following behind. They walked toward the small passageway, which wasn't very long, just about 10 meters. Then, Yi Tian discovered that the inside contained a world of its own, as if they had stepped into another dimension altogether. A vast space stretched out for thousands of meters, containing a small lake at the center. The lake was not stagnant but seemed to be connected to an underground river. As a result, an active water lake had formed within the mountain. Atop the lake floated a lotus flower, unlike any ordinary one. It was as white as snow, with faint golden threads around the edges, as if it were the king of all flowers. On a stone by the lake lay a thick layer of animal hide, bearing the traces of a ferocious beast's residence. This must be the true dwelling of the Black Wolf. No wonder we didn't see it when we entered the cave, it appeared so suddenly. It's because it was living here and sensed us entering the cave, so it teleported out, Yu Ling deduced with sudden enlightenment. Yi Tian gave a vacant nod, responding to Yu Ling, but his gaze remained firmly fixed on the lotus flower. Is that the thing that triggered the turmoil within my copying abilities? Yi Tian thought, yearningly. Yu Ling finally noticed the change in Yi Tian's eyes and followed his gaze to the lotus flower in the lake. Initially, she didn't react, but her expression changed quickly. Could this be the legendary Earth Surge Golden Lotus? Yu Ling exclaimed. Earth Surge Golden Lotus? What is that? Yi Tian sought to gain more information from Yu Ling. Yu Ling calmed her emotions and began to explain. It is said that over 100 years ago, many novels described phenomena like flowers raining from the sky and earth gushing golden lotuses. Although these were poetic descriptions of celestial events, they are actually based on realities. According to legends from ancient times, people had acquired Earth Surge golden lotuses and reaped numerous benefits, becoming godlike figures among ancient humans. Thus, these golden lotuses gradually became deified. Of course, what were considered godlike figures in ancient times are merely warriors with some special talents in modern times. Their abilities might not even surpass some contemporary warriors, but they were treated as gods back then. As for the Earth Surge Golden Lotus, it is a special treasure of heaven and earth. To call it rare would be an understatement, but to say it's not valuable wouldn't be accurate either. Sometimes, it's rather pointless, even useless, Yu Ling said, uttering these paradoxical words. Yi Tian listened, initially confused, but he soon understood why. The Earth Surge Golden Lotus was a treasure beneficial for talents, irrespective of levels or tiers. Even someone with extraordinary talent could possibly enhance their abilities using this lotus, but it would only improve the abilities, not the talent level. For example, take the Wind Blade talent. If a genius with top-tier Wind Blade talent consumed an Earth Surge Golden Lotus, their talent level would remain the same, but the ability of their Wind Blade would be modified. It could change forms, becoming a wind spear or wind knife, or even gain enhanced sharpness. In summary, the true purpose of the Earth Surge Golden Lotus wasn't to elevate talent levels, but to add variations to existing talents. Some variations were useful, while others were not. There were rumors that some had used the lotus to add a phantom-like effect to their speed talent, making it elusive, but it didn't significantly improve their overall strength. However, due to its special effect of altering any level of talent, the Earth Surge Golden Lotus had become an extremely expensive yet somewhat useless treasure. The price was out of proportion to the benefits, but people still sought it, hoping to achieve exceptional effects on their talents through luck. How much is one Earth Surge Golden Lotus worth? Yi Tian inquired. Yu Ling extended 5 fingers and, under Yi Tian's astonished gaze, said, 50 billion. What? Yi Tian was stunned. That's insanely expensive. Freewebnovel.com. It's not, Yu Ling explained. For great martial warrior, it's ridiculously expensive and hardly worth it. But for masters and king-level individuals, 50 billion is nothing. Even if it only slightly benefits their talents, they're willing to spend that amount, even 100 billion. So, the value of the Earth Surge Golden Lotus depends on the person interested. It might not be worth much in a small base, but in a large one, it's worth 50 billion. Yi Tian nodded. The value of a treasure was determined by the market, not its intrinsic cost. Sometimes, what one warrior didn't need, another desperately wanted. It was that simple. For Yi Tian, the Earth Surge Golden Lotus was far more valuable than to anyone else. It could allow his copying talent to undergo various good transformations. Yi Tian speculated that the golden fruit he had previously found probably had a similar effect, but it could also enhance his cultivation talent. Its value might not be less than this lotus, perhaps even higher. Gazing deeply at Yu Ling, Yi Tian spoke. Yu Ling, I'm very interested in this Earth Surge Golden Lotus. I'm willing to trade it for 3 heavenly soul flowers, valued at 30 billion. If we split this lotus, you'll get 25 billion. You won't be at a loss. Deal, but you're getting the short end of the stick. You contributed the most this time, and I can't take advantage of you. How about this? Give me just 2 heavenly soul flowers, and the Earth Surge Golden Lotus is yours, Yu Ling offered. Both parties had no objections and reached an agreement. In this operation, Yi Tian obtained the body of a moon wolf capable of flight, 2 heavenly soul flowers, and 1 Earth Surge Golden Lotus. Such enormous gains far exceeded Yi Tian's entire net worth, by many times over. One could say that in less than half an hour, Yi Tian's net worth had skyrocketed manifold. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 74, 2 replications. Yu Ling was also very excited at that moment. 6 heavenly soul flowers were worth a staggering 60 billion. Of course, converting them entirely into money would undoubtedly be the worst move. For an item like the heavenly soul flower, every family would highly desire it, it was beyond monetary value. She could easily contribute the heavenly soul flowers to the Yu family in exchange for contribution points. With those points, she could acquire the precious items she had long coveted. Moreover, the Yu family would gain 6 top-notch talents in cultivation, strengthening their power. It was a win-win situation. Whoosh! Yi Tian activated his speed talent and dashed into the lake at an extremely fast pace. He gently plucked the Earth Surge Golden Lotus, lightly tapped the water, and retreated. The whole process flowed seamlessly. Gazing at the Earth Surge Golden Lotus in the water, Yi Tian was highly excited, nearly unable to resist the urge to swallow it immediately. But he restrained that desire. Yu Ling, I want to consume the Earth Surge Golden Lotus. Could you guard me? No matter what happens after I take it, do not disturb me, Yi Tian said. Sure, but are you really going to consume it? I always feel it's a waste. It'd be more profitable to sell it, Yu Ling suggested. I'm more interested in seeing if it can positively affect my talents, Yi Tian said with a smile. All right then, Yu Ling responded, advising no further. After all, the Earth Surge Golden Lotus belonged to Yi Tian. How he chose to use it was his business. Yu Ling stood at a distance, watching Yi Tian intently as he swallowed the Earth Surge Golden Lotus. Once in his mouth, the large flower transformed into a kind of nectar and flowed into his stomach. Then, a gentle energy surged into Yi Tian's mind. At that moment, he felt an intense throbbing in his brain. He was absorbing the massive energy of the Earth Surge Golden Lotus. Unlike last time, he did not lose consciousness. Boom! In his mind, dots of light appeared, representing the golden points of his replication talent, which began absorbing the energy from the Earth Surge Golden Lotus, undergoing special changes. Immersed in his consciousness, Yi Tian finally noticed what was happening in his mind. What is this? He looked at those dots of light. They seemed close, yet he couldn't quite reach them. But he knew what they represented. These points must be my talent markings, and the golden points likely signify my replication talent, Yi Tian concluded. The replication talent didn't have levels because it could replicate any talent, calling it the highest level would not be an exaggeration. Among all talent markings, the replication talent was the brightest and most noble. Other talents seemed to orbit it, like subjects bowing to their king. He clearly sensed the changes occurring within his replication talent. With the energy from the Earth Surge Golden Lotus, it was undergoing a unique evolution and transformation. Approximately 5 or 6 hours later. Finally, buzz. His replication talent shook violently, completing its transformation. Yi Tian felt a sudden lightness in his mind, and his mental power increased slightly. Yi Tian was well aware that this minor increase in mental power was just a side effect. The real change had occurred in his replication talent. Let's see what changes have occurred in my replication talent, Yi Tian said, full of anticipation. First, he tested its range. Previously, he could sense talents up to 200 meters away. Now, he found that he could sense the talents of a low-level beast outside a cave 500 meters away. As for places farther than that, he couldn't sense them. This meant that the range of Yi Tian's replication talent had increased to 500 meters, a huge improvement that would make replicating other talents much easier in the future. He could even replicate the talents of people hiding in their homes effortlessly. Next, Yi Tian examined the talent information of the moon-escaping wolf. Species: moon-escaping wolf. Bloodline talent: top-tier copyable. Spatial talent: medium-tier copyable. Enlargement talent: medium-tier copyable. Originally, Yi Tian couldn't copy any of the talents of the hidden moon wolf, as his copy talent was in a cooldown state. But now, his copy talent had become available again. What's going on? Yi Tian was somewhat bewildered. After some research, he finally understood. The number of copies had increased. Previously, he could only copy once a month, but now he could do it twice. He had already used one opportunity, and another was now available. Awesome! Consuming the Earth Surge Golden Lotus was absolutely the wisest decision I've ever made. I don't care about spending 2 Sky Soul Flowers, or even 10, Yi Tian was highly excited. He almost stood up and shouted, but held himself back, remembering someone else was nearby. Now's a perfect opportunity, right after taking the Earth Surge Golden Lotus, to integrate the medium-tier spatial talent from the hidden moon wolf. Even if my body undergoes some changes, it can be concealed as the effect of the Earth Surge Golden Lotus. If I don't integrate now, I won't have a chance later while staying close to Yuling, Yi Tian thought and then acted. Copy. Integrate. In an instant, the medium-tier spatial talent merged into Yi Tian's body. Boom. The integration began. The changes brought by the medium-tier spatial talent were extremely drastic, even more so than the top-tier talents. Yi Tian endured unimaginable pain, as if his soul was about to explode. His body trembled, drenched in cold sweat. Sweat droplets soaked his clothes and even the ground beneath him. Had he been an ordinary person, he might have died from dehydration. But Yi Tian was a great martial warrior, it was merely an inconvenience for him. Not far away, Yuling looked at Yi Tian in astonishment, unable to understand why he was sweating so profusely and wearing an expression of extreme agony, as if he were enduring unimaginable torture. Does consuming Earth Surge Golden Lotus cause this much pain? She didn't know and felt it was best not to comment. Earth Surge Golden Lotus must have mysteriously altered his talents. As for what it has changed into, no one knows. Perhaps this is a side effect of Yi Tian's talents being altered, Yuling speculated. Soon enough, Yi Tian successfully integrated the medium-tier spatial talent. Human: Yi Tian. Cultivation talent: top tier. Speed talent: top tier. Blade talent: high tier. Shadow talent: low tier. Healing talent: top tier. Strength talent: high tier. Stamina talent: medium tier. Defense talent: medium tier. Spatial talent: medium tier. Upon seeing the last line, Yi Tian couldn't contain his excitement. In his eyes, this so-called medium-tier spatial talent was far more precious than other top-tier talents. Spatial talent: Yi Tian secretly activated his spatial talent and immediately sensed various changes in space. With a mere thought, he felt as though he could arrive anywhere else. This was teleportation. Another thought allowed him to perceive other places through space. This was spatial perception. Moreover, he could also create a personal space, as if it were an instinct. .. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 75, Creating a Personal Space. First, a bath. I feel all sweaty. Yi Tian frowned, sniffed the air around him, and promptly stood up. He leapt into the lake. After cleansing himself, he circulated his qi and blood to raise his body temperature. Soon enough, his soaked clothes were dried. Not needing to hang clothes to dry was a skill that could be considered one of the abilities of a martial warrior. Yi Tian, are you all right? Yu Ling approached and asked. I'm fine, Yi Tian shook his head. Not only was he fine, but he had also made quite a gain, a fact he couldn't share with Yu Ling. Has your talent undergone any changes? Yu Ling curiously inquired. I'm not sure yet, but I feel my mental strength has increased considerably. I haven't noticed anything else, Yi Tian responded. Try exploring your talents, maybe you'll notice something, Yu Ling tried to comfort Yi Tian. Deep down, she thought that Yi Tian's talents hadn't changed and that he had wasted an Earth Surge Golden Lotus. However, she didn't want to demoralize him, so she chose to offer comforting words instead. But she was overthinking it. Let's go, said Yi Tian, having acquired what he wanted. There was no reason to stay, better to explore other places for opportunities. Yu Ling naturally agreed, and they both left the cave. Before leaving, Yi Tian had Yu Ling help him store the body of the moon-stealing wolf into a storage bag. He had earlier said that he wanted the creature's body. Though it no longer served any purpose for him, he couldn't suddenly decide not to take it, that would be hard to explain. With no other option, he had Yu Ling assist him in carrying it away. The moon-stealing wolf's body wasn't large, making it easy to carry, so Yu Ling did him the favor. Along the way, Yi Tian was quietly studying his spatial talents. Yu Ling couldn't sense the fluctuations in space, so she remained oblivious to Yi Tian's secret research. If she had known, she would have been shocked. In no time, Yi Tian mastered not just teleportation, but also spatial perception and spatial marking. He even realized that spatial marking and teleportation could be combined. For instance, he could leave a spatial mark in one place and then teleport to the mark from another location. This was pinpoint teleportation. However, due to Yu Ling's presence, he would have to postpone this experiment for later. Time to create my personal space. Yi Tian was greatly excited by this ability. With a personal space, he could store a lot of items without having to carry them himself. Of course, the process had to be done discreetly, so Yu Ling wouldn't find out. Creating a personal space wasn't complicated. All he needed to do was use his spatial talents to leave a spatial mark on himself, then pour spatial energy into it, forming a small space which could be expanded later. The size of the personal space was closely related to the level of his talents and his personal power. Let's begin. Yi Tian placed a spatial mark on a bone cell in his left wrist. Next, he channeled his spatial talent, slowly infusing spatial energy into the mark. Boom! A massive influx of spatial energy converged on the spatial mark, causing it to metamorphose. An entrance squeezed open on the spatial membrane above the bone cell, revealing another dimension. As the spatial energy poured in, a small point appeared in Yi Tian's consciousness. This point, initially serving as an origin, began to expand into a small space about 1 cubic centimeter in size after absorbing a great deal of spatial energy. Obviously, a personal space couldn't be this small, it could still expand. With more spatial energy flowing in, the small space gradually enlarged. About 10 minutes later, the small space finally expanded to the size of 1 cubic meter. Yet Yi Tian had not yet reached his limit, he could continue to expand the pocket dimension he carried with him. Half a day later, Yi Tian finally felt that he had reached a limit. No matter how he manipulated his spatial talent to pour energy into the dimension, it could no longer expand. Entering the pocket dimension in his consciousness, he took a close look. The space was like a cubic room with a side length of 5 meters, making the entire space 125 cubic meters. Such a space was already enormously large, far surpassing most storage bags. Yu Ling's storage bag was considered good quality, but according to her, it was only 30 cubic meters, unable to carry that much. Moreover, storage bags could easily be stolen. Once taken, all the stored items would be lost. However, a pocket dimension couldn't be stolen so easily. Even if his arm were cut off, Yi Tian would still be able to communicate with his pocket dimension. The only way it could be lost would be if someone managed to destroy the space, but that was not easy to accomplish. In short, having a pocket dimension was more than a little convenient. After creating it, Yi Tian covertly transferred some valuable items from his bag into the pocket dimension, such as the 2 soul flowers that he silently moved. Additionally, he transferred several 100-year-old medicinal herbs into his pocket dimension. As for other things, he kept them in his bag to maintain a disguise. Boom! From a distance, sounds of battle resounded, the fluctuation of energy indicating intense combat. Yu Ling, someone or some beast is fighting, Yi Tian said. Judging from the sounds of battle, they were only 10 miles away, which was not far for a warrior. Let's go take a look, Yu Ling said. Yi Tian nodded and immediately led Yu Ling toward the noise. When they were about 3 miles from the site of the battle, Yi Tian used his spatial perception ability to scout ahead. A wave of spatial awareness dispersed, extending forward at an incredible speed. In that moment, Yi Tian's perception seemed to pierce through space itself, offering him a clear view of what lay 3 miles ahead. This was the formidable ability of spatial perception, which allowed not only for a great range but also for crystal clear understanding, unlike mere mental perception, which could only provide a rough sense of the situation. Warriors. Yi Tian saw 5 warriors attacking a fierce beast. Near the beast grew a clump of red grass, flames burning on its leaves, appearing very extraordinary. What is this grass? Yi Tian's limited knowledge left him unable to recognize the plant, but perhaps Yu Ling might know. These 5 warriors were all elite, and 2 of them even had offensive talents. They circled a high-level beast that also had offensive abilities. If they took their time and were cautious, the beast would definitely be defeated without causing any harm to the warriors. Yet, at that moment, the 5 warriors seemed frantic, deploying their ultimate moves one after another, not caring about the cost. They were even willing to injure themselves to speed up the killing of the beast. They are so desperate. This piece of grass must be extraordinary, Yi Tian speculated. Yu Ling, let's speed up. Yi Tian turned to Yu Ling. Okay. Although Yu Ling had no idea what was happening ahead, she followed Yi Tian as they sped up their pace. Unfortunately, the dense trees within the secret realm severely restricted their speed. Yu Ling almost lost control of her body and ran into a tree when she tried to speed up. Seconds later, they crossed the 3-mile distance. Yi Tian and Yu Ling arrived at the battleground. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 76, The Fire Spirit Talent Grass. When Yi Tian and Yu Ling arrived, the 5 warriors had just slain the fierce beast. Someone's coming, hurry up, one of the warriors urgently prompted. Whoosh! One of the warriors quickly arrived at the fire spirit grass, swiftly plucking it and storing it in his storage bag. However, Yu Ling had seen it all. That's the fire spirit talent grass. Yu Ling couldn't help but exclaim. Whoosh! A wave of killing intent enveloped them, unmistakably emanating from the 5 warriors. In an instant, the 5 had surrounded Yi Tian and Yu Ling. Zhang Kai, what are you doing? Yu Ling angrily pointed at one of the warriors. A ferocious look crossed Zhang Kai's face. Yu Ling, what do you think I'm doing? You saw the fire spirit talent grass. You should understand its value better than I do. Do you think I'll let you leave alive? Yu Ling's expression stiffened. She understood Zhang Kai's meaning. If she were in Zhang Kai's position, she might have taken the same actions. This wasn't just about the importance of the fire spirit talent grass. More crucially, the Yu and Zhang families were business competitors, essentially rival families. At the Demon Sea base, both families, constrained by the base's rules, couldn't engage in combat, only business rivalry. But here, in this secret realm, what better opportunity to kill each other's leading warriors? Kill both of them. We can't let the news that the Zhang family obtained the fire spirit talent grass get out, Zhang Kai declared, boiling with murderous intent. Yes, young master, the other 4 warriors responded. They were all elite warriors of the Zhang family, sent to the secret realm to assist Zhang Kai. The Zhang family didn't have many direct descendants among their leading warriors, which was why they could afford to allocate spots so liberally. But the Yu family was different, they had many warrior descendants. For this reason, Yu Ling giving a spot to Yi Tian had caused much discontent. 5 warriors, all at the peak of their abilities. In Zhang Kai's eyes, Yu Ling, a late-stage warrior with bronze-level sword techniques, was no match for them. As for Yi Tian, they didn't consider him at all. The Demon Sea base had many strong warriors, and Yi Tian wasn't among those they remembered. He was likely a minor character. Yu Ling, can we kill these people? Yi Tian asked. We can. Yu Ling nodded. She couldn't kill the 5, but Yi Tian could. She had witnessed his strength firsthand. He was a top talent, comparable to Yun Feng, the #1 battle genius of the Demon Sea base. He could be ranked in the top 10 among the base's warriors, while Zhang Kai wouldn't even make it into the top 100. Alright, then let's kill them all. Yi Tian spoke calmly, as if pronouncing a death sentence for Zhang Kai and the others. Kid, you think you can kill us? Ha ha ha. The group burst into uproarious laughter. In this brief moment, the five charged toward Yi Tian and Yu Ling, intending to wipe them out in one swoop. Shadow kill, a faint voice echoed in the ears of the five individuals. The next moment, their consciousness gradually faded away, and the last thing their vision captured was a series of headless corpses. This body looks so familiar. Those were their last thoughts. Thud, thud, thud. 5 corpses fell to the ground, causing Yu Ling, who stood nearby, to feel a surge of astonishment once again. Though she had witnessed Yi Tian's skills multiple times, she still found each occasion awe-inspiring. Zhang Kai, who had been at the Demon Sea base, was also considered a prodigy and was not inferior to her in terms of talent. Furthermore, since he had reached the peak of a powerful martial warrior, his abilities surpassed hers. Yet, even such an elite was easily killed by Yi Tian, and not just one, but 5 of them. Yi Tian had eliminated 5 powerful martial warriors and quickly searched their bodies, finding 2 storage bags. Now I have something for concealment. Yi Tian thought excitedly as he looked at the storage bags. He had been reluctant to place his acquisitions into his personal space for fear of attracting Yu Ling's attention. Now that he had acquired these storage bags, he could put his belongings in them without arousing suspicion. Yu Ling would simply assume that Yi Tian was using the storage bags. These bags served as a cover for his personal space. Yu Ling, 2 storage bags, let's take one each, Yi Tian said. At this moment, Yu Ling looked visibly anxious and excited. Yi Tian, let's take out the fire spirit talent herb and see. She said hurriedly. All right, Yi Tian nodded. The original owners of the storage bags were dead, so Yi Tian and Yu Ling each quickly claimed one bag for themselves. They then retrieved a fire spirit talent herb from one of the bags. It's a tri-spirit level fire spirit talent herb. Yu Ling's breath grew shallow with excitement. This was even more thrilling than obtaining a soul flower. Yi Tian observed everything carefully, realizing that the fire spirit talent herb must be something extraordinary. Not only had Zhang Kai and his companions been obsessed with it, but Yu Ling was also struggling to control her emotions. Yu Ling, what exactly is this fire spirit talent herb? Yi Tian asked. Gazing at Yu Ling and biting her lip, Yu Ling hesitated before finally saying, Yi Tian, you can have everything in the storage bags, I only want this fire spirit talent herb. No, I can even compensate you with treasures worth 50 billion. Yu Ling, what is the use of this herb? If it's truly beneficial to you, I will give it up, Yi Tian promptly said. Yu Ling finally explained the utility of the fire spirit talent herb. It can grant new talents to a martial warrior. And since it's a tri-spirit level fire spirit talent herb, if a powerful martial warrior or grandmaster level martial warrior uses it, it can bring about low-level fire-type talents. Even a king-level being can use it, although it would result in inferior or weak fire talents. However, even so, it is incredibly valuable. For example, a king-level individual without any special talents could multiply their combat effectiveness if they obtain this herb. Upon hearing this, Yi Tian finally understood the value of this fire spirit talent herb. It could only grant low-level fire talents at best, which he found unimpressive. However, it could be highly valuable for other martial warriors who lacked special talents. Martial artists with special talents are a minority. Most lack special abilities, including some who are otherwise very gifted, Yu Ling earnestly requested. In our Yu family, we have an elder who is a king-level martial warrior but lacks special talents. If I bring this herb to him, his strength could increase by 1 or 2 times. That would be a huge opportunity for our family. You already have numerous high-level talents, so this herb can barely improve your capabilities. At best, it would add 1 more attack method for you. So I hope you can give the fire spirit talent herb to me. Yi Tian pretended to ponder for a moment before saying, all right, I'll give it to you. Upon hearing this, a smile blossomed across Yu Ling's face. --. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. freewebnovel.com. Chapter 77, Arrival of the Yu Family Ancestor. Chapter 77, Arrival of the Yu Family Ancestor. The 2 storage bags contained no small amount of items, including some of high value like 100-year-old herbs, several century-old herbs, and even some extremely valuable treasures. After all, the gains Zhang Kai and the others had obtained from the secret realm weren't limited to the fire spirit talent grass. Moreover, the 2 storage bags themselves were a fine catch. Even with a channel to purchase one, it would cost no less than 2 billion. Handing over a fire spirit talent grass, which had little use for him, Yi Tian had scored a massive win by gaining so many treasures along with the 2 storage bags. Next, Yi Tian began to sort through the treasures in the 2 bags. He discreetly moved the more valuable items into his own space, while the other items were put into one of the storage bags. He emptied the other storage bag, tucking it close to his body, and only left one storage bag visible. Meanwhile, Yu Ling took great care to protect the fire spirit talent grass layer upon layer, fearing the loss of its medicinal properties. Seeing this, Yi Tian felt that Yu Ling was overemphasizing its importance, as if she had never seen anything valuable before. After they had organized their belongings, the 2 continued on their journey. Along the way, Yu Ling finally couldn't hold back. Yi Tian, I've decided not to continue searching for treasures. The fire spirit talent grass is too important for the Yu family. I want to leave early. The secret realm is too dangerous, an insurmountable crisis could come at any time. My life doesn't matter, but the fire spirit talent grass must not be lost. Yi Tian looked deeply at Yu Ling, understanding her thoughts. It was a cautious approach, leaving early eliminated the possibility of unexpected events. As for other treasures, Yu Ling didn't care. Fine, I'll take you there. But I won't leave, I'll exit only when the appointed time arrives. Yi Tian declared beforehand. Of course, given your strength, as long as you avoid the unnatural beasts in the secret realm and people like Yunfeng, you won't face much danger, Yu Ling expressed her understanding. After all, she couldn't ask Yi Tian to give up the remaining time to leave with her, that would be pointless. By staying in the secret realm, Yi Tian could reap many more benefits, a prospect anyone would desire. Having agreed, Yi Tian led Yu Ling toward the location of the spatial rift. What Yu Ling didn't know was that Yi Tian was elated. He had long wanted to act alone but was constrained by his agreement with Yu Ling. Now, with her voluntarily leaving, he could move freely. With his strength, he could collect resources much faster on his own. Perhaps this harvest would be sufficient to support both him and his sister for several years. 2 days later, Yi Tian finally brought Yu Ling to the location of the spatial rift. They had encountered some dangers on their journey, including a terrifying group of fierce beasts, each stronger than Yu Ling. While Yi Tian could have saved himself, protecting Yu Ling was a different story. Left with no choice, he ensured that Yu Ling escaped. Finally arriving at the spatial rift, Yu Ling was visibly relieved, nearly collapsing from exhaustion. No one's here, Yi Tian observed, knowing that it was still early relative to the 1-month period, and everyone else would be searching for treasures and opportunities. After a half-hour rest, Yu Ling recovered and said her farewells. Yi Tian, be careful in the secret realm. I'm leaving first. All right, Yi Tian waved goodbye. With a gentle leap, Yu Ling entered the spatial rift in midair and disappeared. Though Yi Tian could not yet sense the forces of space, he saw very clearly that a spatial force enveloped Yu Ling, transporting her away. A skill he didn't possess, but he was confident that as his spatial talents improved, he'd easily master it in the future. Outside world. Upon emerging from the spatial rift, Yu Ling wasn't hurled away since the secret realm's powers didn't affect the external world. She appeared directly from the original rift. Immediately, masters from various major families detected her presence. With a swish, Yu Ben rushed over immediately, shielding Yu Ling protectively. Yu Ling, why did you come out ahead of time? Yu Ben asked, furrowing his brows. Elder, I encountered a terrifying beast. Fortunately, I was not far from the spatial rift, so I ran towards it. To save my life, I had no choice but to leave early. The creature was too large to pass through, Yu Ling replied helplessly. Her frustrated expression convincingly fooled the grandmasters of the other clans. Instantly, various grandmasters secretly gloated, mockingly regarding the Yu family as incompetent. Let's discuss this back on the wind-controlling ship. Yu Ben led Yu Ling to a wind-controlling ship, property of the Yu family. After Yu Ling and others had entered the secret realm, members of the various families remained, concerned that some of their people might exit prematurely and lack protection. After all, this was the wilderness, often besieged by dangerous beasts. They had to guard the entrance of the spatial rift. At this moment, the wind-controlling ship wasn't in the sky but on the ground, eliminating the need to maintain the boat's energy. Upon entering the wind-controlling ship, Yu Ben activated the interior's soundproofing array. Yu Ling, we're alone now. Tell me what really happened. You may fool others, but not me. I can sense that your blood is flowing rapidly, indicating extreme agitation. Yu Ben unmasked. Elder, you should summon the ancestor. Yu Ling uttered words that shocked Yu Ben. Summon the ancestor. Do you realize who the ancestor is? He won't come without good reason. What did you find? Yu Ben was astonished. Fire spirit talent grass, Yu Ling stated straightforwardly. She wasn't worried about Yu Ben's greed. She knew his nature was among the most benevolent in the family. Moreover, the ancestor was Yu Ben's grandfather, there was no way Yu Ben would hide it from him. Is it really fire spirit talent grass? How potent! Yu Ben became excited. 3 spirit, Yu Ling truthfully said. A 3 spirit is very rare. It can bestow upon a king-level powerhouse a weak or low fire talent. If the ancestor refines this fire spirit talent grass, his strength will undoubtedly skyrocket, elevating the status of our Yu family as well. Without another word, Yu Ben began contacting the Yu family's ancestor through a communicator. Within less than 10 seconds. Boom, a king-level aura emanated from a great distance, startling all the families. Another king-level presence has arrived. Many grandmasters were astounded. Brother Yu, what brings you here? Yunhee Wang appeared, hovering in midair, looking at the middle-aged warrior flying in from a distance. This middle-aged warrior, flying through the sky, was none other than the ancestor of the Yu family, a king-level existence, Lord Yu Ling, same pinyin as that girl. Yunhee Wang, I have important matters. I won't break the rules, Lord Yu Ling stated before flashing into the Yu family's wind-controlling ship. At that moment, everyone began to speculate on the crux of the issue. It must undoubtedly involve Yu Ling. Could it be that Yu Ling brought out a treasure that even a king level would covet? Many grandmasters hypothesized. The king level expert will be referred to as Lord Yu Ling. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 78, Yu Ling's request. No matter what Yu Ling had brought forth, none dared to lay a finger on it. The fury of a king-level expert would make them understand the meaning of despair. They weren't in the Demon Sea base. Here, even if they were killed by a king-level expert, no punishment would be levied upon that expert. Even if their families were to seek vengeance for them later, they wouldn't live to see that day. Additionally, they dared not inform the senior members of their families. To alert the family elders without understanding the full situation would mean they were tired of living. Other grandmasters didn't dare to touch the unknown object, but Yunhee Wang showed some interest. His strength was much greater than that of the Yu family's elder, and he even harbored a certain hope of killing Lord Yu Ling on his own. Lord Yu Ling, after all, had no special talents and was merely average among king-level experts. Of course, conflict wouldn't easily break out among king-level experts unless the interests at stake had reached a certain level. Besides, Yunhee Wang had no enmity with Yu Ling, and naturally wouldn't pick a fight needlessly. That didn't mean, however, that he wasn't curious. So, Yunhee Wang activated his spatial perception. He tried to investigate the situation by peering through layers of space, but obviously failed. King-level experts possess the means to block spatial perception. If he tried to investigate inconspicuously, it would be nearly impossible. My spatial talents are merely basic. If they were at a mid-level, my ability to perceive space would be several times stronger, and blocking me would become difficult for Yu Ling, Yunhee Wang lamented. Inside the Yu family's windriding vessel, Lord Yu Ling looked anxiously at Yu Ling. You are Yu Ling, aren't you? Asked the Yu family's ancestor. Yes, ancestor. Yu Ling was somewhat nervous. She had only met the ancestor a few times, and those occasions were during important family events. She had merely stood among the crowd of the Yu family. This was her first time having a face-to-face conversation with him. She was merely a great martial warrior, and standing in front of a king-level expert, even an average grandmaster would be nervous. Do you have the fire spirit talent herb? Yu Ling asked urgently. Yes. Yu Ling took out a large jade box from her storage bag. She opened it to reveal a smaller jade box within, and finally revealed the fire spirit talent herb that was carefully protected inside. The herb was blood red in color with faint flames emanating from it. It had 3 leaves, each imprinted with a flame pattern. This indicated that the fire spirit talent herb was of the 3 spirit level. Indeed, this is a 3 spirit level fire spirit talent herb. It will be extremely useful to me. Yu Ling was visibly excited. His eyes softened as he looked at Yu Ling. Young Yu Ling, this herb is invaluable and cannot be measured in gold. What reward would you like? Elder, I want an opportunity. After I reach the Grandmaster's limit, I want to comprehend the Enlightenment Steel once, Yu Ling pleaded. What? Comprehend the Enlightenment Steel? Yu Ben, who was at the side, was completely stunned, his pupils contracting. He himself was not eligible to comprehend the Enlightenment Steel. The steel was the foundation of the family, acquired from a mysterious place. Although Yu Ling did not possess extraordinary cultivation talent, only top-tier cultivation talent, he had been able to break through the bottleneck and advance to become a king-level expert solely because of the Enlightenment steel. However, the effects of the Enlightenment steel were not omnipotent. Each time someone gained insight from it, some of its mysterious aura would dissipate. By this point, the Yu family's Enlightenment steel could no longer be consulted many more times. Consequently, under unavoidable circumstances, the Enlightenment steel couldn't be activated. There were many masters within the Yu family, but none were deemed worthy of comprehending the steel. This is, Lord Yu Ling hesitated. The value of the fire spirit talent herb was indeed high and would greatly enhance his abilities. However, its benefits were limited to him alone. If he agreed to Yu Ling's request to activate the Enlightenment steel, others in the clan would undoubtedly be dissatisfied. Ancestor, I also have 6 heavenly soul flowers here, enough to produce 6 top-tier talents in our Yu family. Yu Ling took out the heavenly soul flowers and said, 6 heavenly soul flowers, you have 6 of them. Yu Ling was shocked. Although the heavenly soul flowers were not as valuable as the fire spirit talent herb, they were still rare treasures. The Yu family had only one such flower before and had treasured it greatly, keeping it in the family's vault. Without a significant contribution, the flower wouldn't be granted to anyone. After all, once it was given away, there would be none left, leaving the Yu family quite helpless. Now, with 6 additional flowers, the strength of the Yu family would be greatly augmented. Some clan members, for example, had special talents that were extremely powerful, even possessing advanced offensive skills. However, they were held back by poor cultivation aptitudes, struggling to even become elite warriors. These battle talents could not be fully utilized. But with the heavenly soul flowers, their cultivation aptitudes would rise to the top tier, allowing them to reach the limit of the master level, far surpassing average master level fighters. In a world without king-level talents, the strength of major families relied on these master-level warriors. So, the significance of these 6 heavenly soul flowers was immense. Ancestor, with these 6 heavenly soul flowers, I believe many of our high-ranking members will agree to activate the Enlightenment steel, Yu Ling said. All right, I agree. Lord Yu Ling nodded. If it had been just one fire spirit talent herb, he might have faced opposition for selfishly agreeing to Yu Ling's request. But with 6 heavenly soul flowers, objections from the family would undoubtedly be minimal. He could completely agree to Yu Ling's request. Thank you, Ancestor. Yu Ling was extremely excited. Her long-cherished wish had finally been fulfilled. You see, her cultivation aptitude was merely top tier, and even that was achieved by risking great danger and sacrificing several core subordinates to retrieve a treasure from the Lake of Death. This treasure had elevated her cultivation aptitude to the top tier. After reaching top-tier cultivation, further improvement became very difficult. Perhaps being top-tier was her lifetime limit, and the success rate for top-tier cultivators to advance to king level was less than 10%. Without special opportunities, she would never reach king level in her lifetime. Was she content to remain at the master level for the rest of her life, forever unable to reach king level? No, she wasn't, but the family's Enlightenment steel offered a glimmer of hope, reportedly increasing the odds by 20%. Now, she had roughly a 28% chance of advancing to king level. Although the success rate was still not high, at least there was hope. If she acquired other treasures in her future cultivation that could add another 10 or 20% to her chances, wouldn't she stand a chance of reaching king level? Therefore, she did not hesitate to contribute the fire spirit talent herb and the 6 heavenly soul flowers. Now, she had succeeded. Unknowingly, a tear trickled down from her eyes, tears of overwhelming emotion. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 79, The Second Beast Pet. Chapter 79, The Second Beast Pet. Hidden Realm. At this moment, Yi Tian was completely unaware that Yu Ling had contributed all of her fire spirit talent grass and 6 soul flowers to the family for an opportunity to break through to the king level. If he had known, he could only sigh. For him, reaching the king level was not difficult, as his cultivation talent had already evolved into the extraordinary level. His was even better than most ordinary extraordinary talents for cultivation, given that his talent was a fusion of both extraordinary and top levels. 800 meters away, there's a 500-year-old Polygonum multiflorum. Yi Tian's gaze penetrated through layers of space and fixed on a Polygonum multiflorum plant nestled in a crevice 800 meters away. His expression shifted. This was an ability related to spatial awareness, enabling him to effortlessly locate medicinal herbs. Earlier, when Yu Ling was present, he had not dared to collect herbs so recklessly. Now that Yu Ling was gone, he had no reservations. In the blink of an eye, Yi Tian arrived at the location where the Polygonum multiflorum was growing. He carefully harvested the plant and placed it in a temporary wooden box, which he then stored in his personal space. Continuing the search, in the hidden realm, there were countless herbs that were hundreds of years old. Yi Tian could easily find them. To him, this realm was a natural treasure trove. The realm also housed a large number of high-level ferocious beasts, each of which could provide ample amounts of high-quality beast blood. Besides collecting herbs, Yi Tian's most crucial task was to collect this high-quality beast blood. In the outside world, hunting high-level ferocious beasts was perilous. Within a day, one could easily attract the attention of top-level ferocious beasts. However, things were different in the hidden realm. Here, the strongest creatures were only high-level ferocious beasts, top-level ones didn't appear. In the past, Yi Tian had worried about how to carry all the high-level beast blood he collected, but now he had 2 storage bags and a personal space, sufficient for collecting large amounts of it. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. freewebnovel.com. During this period, Yi Tian had been hunting high-level ferocious beasts and collecting herbs like a madman. Relying on his top-level healing talents, he had survived multiple deadly ambushes by various beasts. He didn't know how many high-level beasts had died by his hands. All he knew was that his personal space and 2 storage bags were almost full. I can't hunt any more high-level beasts, I've run out of room anyway. Yi Tian stopped hunting, but there were still many treasures in the hidden realm yet to be unearthed, especially underground. His mental power had difficulty extending underground, but his spatial awareness could perceive underground conditions with ease. On several occasions, he had sensed the existence of mineral veins, although they were not veins of chi stones but rather metallic veins like copper, iron, and silver. These veins were valuable in this world, but how much could he collect on his own? Even if he filled up his personal space, it wouldn't fetch much money. Far less than what he could make from high-level beast blood and medicinal herbs. Therefore, he reluctantly gave up on these metal veins. I probably have about 10 days left. Let's keep searching, focusing on chi stone veins. If I can't find any, I'll just have to leave. Yi Tian planned accordingly. Based on his assessment, chi stone veins were likely to be in places where the chi was particularly rich. But the hidden realm was vast, and his sensing range was limited, making it difficult to determine where chi stone veins were most likely to occur. Otherwise, he would have found them long ago. After searching for 2 more days, just as Yi Tian was about to give up entirely on finding chi stone veins, it seemed as if heaven couldn't bear to see him disappointed and granted him an opportunity. What is that? Yi Tian's gaze locked onto a rat 100 meters away. The rat was purple all over, with a streak of golden fur between its brows, looking extraordinarily special. Yi Tian examined its talent and found that it was indeed very exceptional. Species: Purple Gold Treasure Rat. Bloodline Talent: Top Tier. Treasure Hunting Talent: High. Could it be a purple golden treasure mouse with treasure hunting talent? Yi Tian felt as if the heavens were truly favoring him. He had discovered such an extraordinary treasure mouse. High-tier treasure hunting talent was extremely rare. Yi Tian wanted to replicate it, but his replication talent was still in its cooldown phase. The cooldown would be over soon, but by that time, he would have already left the secret realm. Therefore, he had to capture this purple golden treasure mouse, and furthermore, he wanted to use it to find treasures for him within the secret realm, preferably a vein of chi stones. Whoosh! Yi Tian teleported next to the purple golden treasure mouse. The treasure mouse had been searching for treasures to enhance its own strength when it suddenly noticed Yi Tian's appearance. A sense of impending crisis descended upon it. It tried to flee, but Yi Tian's large hand reached for it. Boom! Amplified by his strength talent and yuan force, the sheer power in Yi Tian's hand reached the level of 5 elephants, and his speed far exceeded the treasure mouse's reaction time. As a result, the purple golden treasure mouse was seized by Yi Tian and couldn't escape no matter what. Little guy, if you submit to me, I won't kill you, otherwise. Yi Tian threatened. Though it seemed a bit wrong to threaten a beast, especially such a cute one, humans and beasts were separate entities, with no need for moral courtesies. Squeak squeak squeak, the purple golden treasure mouse kept squealing as if furious. However, once Yi Tian exuded a killing intent, it immediately quieted down. Then, the purple golden treasure mouse nodded its head repeatedly, seemingly saying, I am willing to submit. Recognize your master. You know how to do that, right? Yi Tian smirked. The treasure mouse waved its tiny paws as if to say, "You scoundrel, you are so shameless. Recognize your master." Yi Tian tightened his grip, a great force making the treasure mouse's body squeak as its bones shattered. Now, the purple golden treasure mouse was panicking. It was no ordinary beast but a purple golden treasure mouse that had consumed countless heavenly and earthly treasures, even ones that granted intelligence. Its wisdom was not inferior to humans. It, too, feared death. Seeing that Yi Tian was really willing to harm it, it hastily released its soul light, which flew into Yi Tian's soul sea. When Yi Tian absorbed the soul light of the purple golden treasure mouse, the act of recognizing a master was completed. Master. A voice akin to a young girl's appeared in Yi Tian's mind. Are you female? Only then did Yi Tian pay attention to the gender of the purple golden treasure mouse. He promptly flipped the mouse over to take a closer look. Indeed, you are female. Master, you big pervert. The purple golden treasure mouse fumed in Yi Tian's mind. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. Chapter 80. Another extraordinary talent for cultivation. Chapter 80. Another extraordinary talent for cultivation. Yi Tian paid no heed to the clamor of the purple gold rat. Purple gold rat, how about I give you a name? Let's call you Xiaozi, what do you think? Yi Tian asked. The purple gold rat gently nodded its head, seemingly quite content with the name. Xiaozi, can your treasure-finding talent detect where there might be veins of yuan-qi stones? Yi Tian asked with some anticipation. I know where yuan-qi stones are. Xiaozi eagerly raised its tiny paw. Really? Yi Tian's expression shifted, tinged with excitement. The fact that Xiaozi knew the location of the yuan-qi stones took him by surprise. However, upon further consideration, it made sense. Xiaozi had been living in this secret realm for who knows how long, and its talent for finding treasures would naturally make it privy to the locations of various valuable items. Yuan-qi stones were a kind of treasure, so it was entirely reasonable that Xiaozi could detect them. Xiaozi, take me to find the yuan-qi stones. Yi Tian commanded. Follow me. Xiaozi darted forward, leading Yi Tian in the search for the yuan-qi stones. However, Xiaozi's speed left much to be desired, and in the end, Yi Tian had to carry it, with Xiaozi merely pointing out the direction. After running continuously for a day and a half, Yi Tian was about to reach the destination under Xiaozi's guidance. Yet, the situation did not align with his expectations. A corpse. Yi Tian found the body of a martial artist, and judging from the condition of the corpse, the individual hadn't been dead for long. Spatial perception. A wave of spatial fluctuation emanated, extending forward to explore. Very quickly, multiple corpses of martial artists appeared in Yi Tian's line of sight. I've already discovered more than a dozen corpses of martial artists, Yi Tian said, furrowing his brow. From the current situation, it seemed likely that the vein of yuan-qi stones nearby had been discovered. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many dead martial artists. The secret realm was expansive, and the probability of martial artists encountering each other was relatively low. The deaths of so many in this area could only mean large-scale fighting had taken place. The thought that the yuan-qi stones might have been exposed filled Yi Tian with urgency. If all the yuan-qi stones had been mined, his journey would have been in vain. Let's go. Yi Tian moved forward cautiously, his spatial perception scanning the area. He had the advantage, for he would sense the enemy before they sensed him. After walking a distance of more than a kilometer, he finally saw a group of people engaged in combat, or to be more precise, a group that was being besieged. It's him. Yi Tian recognized a familiar face, familiar because he had paid special attention to learning about him. The man was Yunfeng, known as the top combat talent in the Demon Sea base. Yunfeng was on the side being surrounded. The other party consisted of over 20 individuals, all wearing the same attire, obviously from the same power. Yunfeng, your combat prowess is indeed number one among the combat talents, but you are no match for us. An aged warrior spoke coldly. Helian Bai, you were a grand warrior from the previous generation. Unexpectedly, you've survived in this secret realm for 10 years and even discovered a vein of qi stones. I have no feud with you, and I assure you I won't compete with you for the qi stones. Why must you ambush me? Even if you manage to kill me, more than half of you will die as well. Do you believe me? Yunfeng retorted in a frosty tone. I do believe you, Helian Bai replied, but sacrificing some grand warriors to kill you, Yunfeng, is a good bargain. The entire Demon Sea base believes that among the younger generation of the Yun family, Yuntian has the highest cultivation talent, an extraordinary level, while you, Yunfeng, only have combat power and top-level cultivation talent. If you were merely of top-level talent, I wouldn't bother to kill you. But you're not just top-level. HMPH, if I'm not top-level, what then? Am I of extraordinary level cultivation talent? Yunfeng sneered. Exactly, you indeed possess extraordinary level cultivation talent. Perhaps you used to be top level, but now you are extraordinary. If I'm not wrong, you've found an item in this secret realm that enhances talent, elevating your cultivation talent to the extraordinary level. I'm quite envious, even I want such an item. I was originally of high-level cultivation talent and spent considerable effort to upgrade it to top level after coming here 10 years ago. Just for an item that can enhance talent, I've spent a long time plotting in the secret realm, and that's why I missed my chance to leave. I initially thought I was already very lucky, but you're luckier. You've found an item that can elevate your cultivation talent to the extraordinary level, perhaps you even have more. As he spoke, Helian Bai became tempted, revealing a greedy expression. Do you think anyone would believe such lies? Yunfeng sneered dismissively. Lies. Helian Bai laughed. Yunfeng, you're indeed calm, but what you don't know is that I have a unique talent, which allows me to see the cultivation talent of others. The condition is that their talent shouldn't exceed mine. If you were top level, I should have been able to see it. But now I can't, which means something very clear to me. At that moment, Yunfeng finally changed his expression. I never expected you to have such a talent. Fine, so what if I have extraordinary level talent? If it comes down to it, I can kill you. Yunfeng threatened Helian Bai. Let's try then. Helian Bai wasn't afraid. Today, he had to kill Yunfeng. An emerging combat genius with extraordinary level talent would become incredibly formidable when grown. If the already powerful Yun family added another invincible king to its ranks, they would be unstoppable. Helian Bai wanted not only to safeguard the Helian family's status, which was second only to the Yun family, but also sought the treasure on Yunfeng. What if Yunfeng had more than one such item that could elevate one's talent to the extraordinary level? Then Helian Bai could hope to achieve the same. Just the possibility alone was enough for him to ambush Yunfeng. Moreover, there was a small vein of chi stones underground. Once Yunfeng was killed, he planned to join forces with other Helian family members to slay the fearsome beasts guarding the chi stones. Then, all the chi stones would belong to the Helian family. From a distance, Yi Tian had not only spied on Yunfeng's situation but had also heard their conversation, and he was mildly shocked. Yunfeng has actually become an extraordinary level talent. When he was in the outside world, he was merely top level. What outrageous luck, he's like a son of destiny. Yi Tian thought. Approaching. Keep approaching. Whoosh. In an instant, Yi Tian teleported behind a massive rock 500 meters away from them. His teleportation was so fast that he left no trace, and Yunfeng and the others didn't notice Yi Tian. Scan. His duplication talent instantly gave him a clear view of the group's talent status. freewebnovel.com. When Yi Tian saw Yunfeng's talent status, he couldn't help but smile. The Helian family is done for. For announcements or to report mistakes, please join my Discord, web links. Until the end of November, for each person that joins, I'll post an extra chapter, max 60. 2 extra chapters this week because of 2 new members.